I have to analyze the facts. The facts don't lie to me.
Dr. Spitz, you're aware that the facts of this case, those facts that do not lie to you, indicate that Lana Clarkson had Phillip Spector's gun in her face, filled with Phillip Spector's bullets, in Phillip Spector's house after Phillip Spector invited her home, and she was shot to death in Phillip Spector's foyer, correct? Yeah, if nothing else, Doc, you've sold another couple books in this case.
Well, I'm so pleased that I got $2.50 from
each. You need to talk to your publisher. That skirt would come up even a little further. Just based on, basic fashion physics, I guess it'd be called, correct? I just coined a new phrase.
Well, I'm not very much into fashion.
You and me both, Doc. I'm simply asking you a very pointed question. Is it your opinion, I think you testified a little bit earlier on cross-examination, that there's evidence that Mr. Spector wiped his hands off?
Yes, that's correct.
And that, in fact, would remove GSR?
There's some debate about that.
There's debate whether wiping your hands off will remove GSR. Is that your testimony?
I'm not an expert in that regard, but I do read the literature.
You have no vested interest in this case one way or another, correct?
That's correct.
As a matter of fact, the $45,000 or $50,000 that you're making from Mr. Spector, that wouldn't sway your opinions or conclusions in this case one way or the other, ever, would it?
I don't know where you got $50,000 from.
Well, you had $45,000 yesterday, and we're into a new day now. So I assume that you got another $5,000.
I'm so grateful to you for being concerned with my income.
In your expert medical opinion, as a forensic pathologist, the back spatter came down at such an angle that it covered her skirt, and then decided it's going to stop at the hem and move its course to a trajectory 6 feet away, and not find anything else in the path, but then find Phillip Spector, and not just all over Phillip Spector, but just on the left panel of his jacket, and spray on the left panel of his jacket. That's what you're saying.
You sound like those people who brought up the magic bullet theory in President Kennedy, that the bullet had to go zigzag. I'm
going to stop you at this point. Let's stay away from Kennedy, okay? Well, it's actually another $5,000 for you, isn't it, today?
No, don't worry about that.
I'll bet you're not worried about it.
Mr. Jackson, I've got plenty of money. The only thing I don't have is time.
Yeah, well said.
When you work in a puzzle, you don't know that there is a picture, and you don't know what the picture is until you put enough pieces together. And this is one piece that fits into that.
And of course, that piece of the puzzle, to use your metaphor, that piece of the puzzle could fit something else as well, correct? I.e., a struggle, for instance, or Lana Clarkson trying to slap the gun away, or Lana Clarkson struggling with Mr. Spector, who was armed with a gun. It would fit that as well.
You know, we are splitting hairs.
I'm not splitting anything. I'm asking you a question, Doctor. Would wetting the hands and wiping them off remove even more GSR?
I don't know that I can answer that.
Okay.
Yes, theoretically, yes, it could.
Thank you.
This is a peaceful position she is in.
Well, she's dead, Doctor.
Dr. Spitz, with reference to whether or not Ms. Clarkson died of a self-inflicted wound, do you believe to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that that's how she died?
That's exactly what I think.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. Cross-examination. Thank you.
And you're getting paid a lot of money for that opinion, aren't you?
No, I don't get paid. Yes, I do get paid a lot of money. That's true, but not for that opinion.
What are you getting paid all that money for?
What I'm getting paid for coming to California, for being away from my office, and from dedicating that time to another case.
How much,
out here? This is my third time out here.
How much is that money?
Third or fourth time. I'm sorry?
How much is that money, sir?
How much is the money that I receive for coming here?
That's right.
$5,000 per day.
$5,000 a day?
Yes.
And how many days have you been out here?
You mean this time or all other times?
In total, Dr. Spitz.
In total, I don't remember. I've been here 3 times.
So that's at least $15,000 just for your trips out here.
Correct? Oh, you're being mean. You're not 15,000. Come on.
Hang on. Let me
No,
see if I can. Let me see if I can. Hang on, Dr. Spitz. Hang on a second. Dr. Spitz. We can't talk at the same time.
Wait, just a second, sir. In this examination, please just answer the questions that are asked. Don't volunteer information. You may proceed.
Thank you. Dr. Spitz, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to do some basic math.
Okay.
Did you tell me that you make $5,000 a day working for Mr. Spector coming out here to California? Is that what you said?
No. You said that.
You
I
didn't say you make $5,000 a day?
Yes, and I work at the behest of Mr. Plourde and Mrs. Barton.
Okay, and of course, the client is Mr. Spector.
Well, he is the reason why this proceeding is on. But the fact is that Mr. Spector never invited me to come here.
Well, that's because you're in communication with Mr. Plourde, correct?
Well, yes, I'm in communication with Mr. Plourde, but I came here at Mr. Plourde's behest.
I'm sorry. But ultimately, you're being paid by Mr. Spector.
Yes, that's true.
Thank you. And what you're being paid, unless I heard you incorrectly, and I'm not trying to be mean, is that you make $5,000 a day.
Yeah, I didn't mean to say that you're mean, but I meant I don't really know the word.
Doctor, all I asked you is, did you testify that you make $5,000 a day?
That's correct.
You've been out here 3 times, correct?
Yes.
That's $15,000 just for those 3 trips, correct?
No, I didn't each time come for one day.
How many times did you come?
3 times, but not one day each time. You cannot come to California in one day and back.
So you made more than $5,000 a trip.
Exactly.
How much in total?
That's why I said you're mean, because you take the minimum.
Actually, I was giving you a benefit that I shouldn't have given you.
No, please don't give me any benefits.
Right.
I don't need them.
So tell us finally how much money you have made being employed by Mr. Plourde on behalf of Mr. Spector.
I don't recall the exact amount, but I can tell you that what I do recall is that we sent a bill for $45,000.
All right, so it's somewhere up in the area of $45,000.
Yes.
All right. You indicated, and I don't think, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I'm not going to finish today. So I'm just going to touch on a few subjects that Mr. Plourde touched on, and then we're going to probably wrap it up right around 4 o'clock, I'm assuming, and then we'll continue this and pick this back up tomorrow, Dr. Spitz. One of the things that you said just before Mr. Plourde sat down and finished his direct examination was, in most intraoral gunshot wounds, you've seen them to be suicides, correct?
Would you do me a favor and say it again?
Most of the intraoral gunshot wounds that you're aware of tend to be suicide rather than homicide, correct?
You mean in general or
in
my practice?
In general.
By far, yes.
All right. But that means that, in fact, there are some that you're aware of, maybe not personally, but there are those intraoral gunshot wounds out there that are homicides, correct?
Allegedly, there is 1%.
Okay, so that's 1% of...
And maybe less than 1%. If you ask me what my personal opinion is on the prevalence of intraoral gunshot wounds as other than suicides, I would have to tell you, unfortunately, in my practice, I cannot cite a single case.
All right. I'm not asking you about your practice. I'm asking you about what you're aware of in other literature and the literature across the country and across the globe. There are intraoral gunshot wounds.
Well, there probably are somewhere. Yes.
There are intraoral gunshot wounds.
There probably are, yes.
Do me a favor and wait till I finish my question. Okay, this will go a lot smoother. There are intraoral gunshot wounds that, in fact, are homicides.
Well, there probably are. Yes.
All right. So you're certainly not saying that in your practice, when you were chief medical examiner in Wayne County, for instance, that if there was an intraoral gunshot wound, that you just slide it across your desk and hit a stamp, boom, that says suicide and do no further investigation. That would be irresponsible, would it not?
Well, it's not something I do.
you would have to investigate the facts and circumstances surrounding that particular case to make a medical finding to a reasonable degree of certainty in your mind, scientific certainty, that in fact it's a natural death, it's a suicide, it's a homicide, it's an accident, or something else.
No question about it. Absolutely. You're totally correct.
Right. So what I'm saying by that, or what I'm asking by that, is in fact, notwithstanding what statistics say, who cares about statistics?
Exactly.
We need to look at this case, correct?
You are totally correct.
In fact, in talking about or discussing what it is, or thinking about or analyzing what it is that you need to look at in this case, you, in fact, said to Mr. Plourde, you looked at Lana Clarkson's history, correct?
Yes.
There was another person in that room, wasn't there, in that foyer?
Exactly.
Who is that other person?
I understand that was Mr. Spector.
It would also be incredibly important to look at Mr. Phillip Spector's history as well, would it not?
But he's a passive individual here.
Well,
I would have to look in order to tie him into this scenario. I would have.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Your opinion is.
Let him finish. Let him finish his answer.
Sure.
I would have to look at his part in this death by way of having the police look at his clothes, report to me what they find, and then do the same thing with the deceased's clothes, and then I will do the remaining work as it pertains to the body, and then tie it all together and come to a determination.
Doctor, what did you mean when you said he's a passive individual in this case?
He is a passive, that means he is not directly tied into the events here until we have proved it to be wrong. And up until now, I failed to see where he's anything but a passive attendant.
Dr. Spitz, Lana Clarkson was killed in Phillip Spector's house, correct?
Yes.
She was killed with Phillip Spector's gun, correct?
Yes.
That was loaded with Phillip Spector's bullets, correct?
Yes.
That gun came out of a holster that belonged to Phillip Spector, correct?
Yes.
That gun and holster was secreted inside a bureau that belonged to Phillip Spector, correct?
Yes.
There's no evidence that Lana Clarkson had ever been in that house previous to that night, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that she was in fact a complete stranger to the foyer area and would have been a stranger to the contents of that bureau, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that she only went to that location because of an invitation from Phillip Spector, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that she was fully clothed, correct?
Yes.
She was
Time of her death, I assume.
correct.
All right.
She was fully clothed, correct?
Yes.
She was sitting by the back door.
Yes.
She had her purse on her shoulder.
Yes.
She was 15, 20 feet away from a Mercedes that could have taken her home, correct?
Yes, I suppose so.
All right, she was, certainly the suggestion would be if she's sitting there with her purse on her arm, sitting by the back door, that she's not partying, she's ready to leave, correct?
I don't know what she was about to do.
That's a reasonable interpretation, is that right?
Well, yeah, but you can't go by reasonable interpretations here because she's sitting 15 feet or whatever from the Mercedes. Does that mean she's about ready to leave? I don't know if that's so or not.
Your opinion is you can't go by reasonable interpretations of the facts. Is that what you just said?
No, what I'm saying is by the same token, she may have already left and come back. I mean, we don't know all this. You're totally, aren't you speculating on this?
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm actually asking you that.
You presented like it's fact that, yes, she was sitting there, but that's where it stops.
All right. Is there a reasonable interpretation, because she was sitting there with her purse on her shoulder by the back door, that she was in fact ready to leave? Is that a reasonable interpretation of the facts as you know them, Doctor?
I don't know. I think I'd hesitate to go that far, but maybe that's reasonable to you.
You're aware that there was blood on the doorknob after she was killed, correct?
Yes.
Blood placed on the doorknob after she was killed, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that that was placed there by Phillip Spector?
I presume that since it was not she that deposited it there.
There was blood also on the banister, is that right?
Yes.
That blood was placed there by Phillip Spector, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if it was, I presume that it was.
Well, you're not presuming certainly that Lana Clarkson stood up after she was...
Absolutely not.
All right. There was blood on Phillip Spector's jacket, correct?
Yes.
Phillip Spector's jacket had been taken off, correct?
Yes.
There was a rag that was retrieved by Phillip Spector, correct?
Yes.
There was a gun that was found on Lana Clarkson's left side, correct?
Under her left foot, yes.
There was clotted blood on the rag that Phillip Spector retrieved, correct?
Yes.
That clotted blood was placed there by Phillip Spector, correct?
Well, it is my understanding that the rag was used to wipe her face.
That rag was used by Phillip Spector,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And in your
I
opinion,
presume that that's so, yes.
after all of that, it's your opinion. You're aware of all of those facts, yet your opinion is Phillip Spector was just a passive player in this. Is that what your opinion is?
Yes, it is my opinion based on the physical evidence in this case. This, what you have just illustrated, is fact, but borderline fact, because I don't know how much it has to do with the physical findings.
With the
Physical findings.
physical findings, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
It is. These are all facts that the gun came out of a drawer that belonged to Mr. Spector, and the house belonged to Mr. Spector, and the drawer. She didn't know where the drawer was, and how would she know where all these things that you have just asked me. I agree with all of them, but you don't know what really, in the absence of a video camera that took pictures of this, you don't have an idea of what transpired there that evening. And I don't either. Therefore, I have to go on more than just innuendo and speculation. I have to analyze the facts. The facts don't lie to me. The facts give me that which I can work with. And then I take the background and I try and fit the facts into the background.
And you're aware, speaking of that background, as you fit these facts into the background. Well, let me back up for a second. Dr. Spitz, you're aware that the facts of this case, those facts that do not lie to you, indicate that Lana Clarkson had Phillip Spector's gun in her face, filled with Phillip Spector's bullets, in Phillip Spector's house after Phillip Spector invited her home, and she was shot to death in Phillip Spector's foyer, correct? Those are the facts that don't lie to you, correct?
Excuse me, but the question was so long that by the time you finished, I forgot the beginning. So if you don't mind breaking it down or saying it again.
I'll repeat it again, sure.
Please.
You're aware that these facts that you say don't lie to you include the following. Lana Clarkson was killed with Phillip Spector's gun, yes?
Yes.
She was killed with Phillip Spector's bullet, correct?
Yes.
That was loaded in Phillip Spector's gun, yes?
Yes.
And it was found in Phillip Spector's bureau.
Yes.
That gun was in Lana Clarkson's face, correct, when it was fired?
Overruled.
Is that right? And when I say that, I'm talking colloquially. It was in her face. It was in her mouth.
Yes.
All right. And she died sitting in Phillip Spector's chair in Phillip Spector's foyer, correct?
Yes.
Those are the facts. When you say the facts don't lie, Dr. Spitz, those are the facts that aren't lying to you, correct?
No, and they don't. I didn't suggest that these facts lied to me. But you do not know, and I'll tell you that again, you do not know what transpired between the parties here and those circumstances that, as you have just illustrated them, that led to Lana Clarkson picking up the gun, holding it into her mouth, and firing the bullet that killed her. You don't know anything other than that, plus that Mr. Spector was maybe on his way to her as he heard the gunshot. You don't know any of that. I don't either. Therefore, I base my opinions on that which I found by way of those things that I use every day for coming to those opinions.
And of course, those facts that don't lie to you, Dr. Spitz, you need a little help interpreting what happened inside that foyer. Isn't that right? That's what you're saying.
Well, yes, I do need some help. I need to. The help that I need is either retrieving information out of my own brain or else consulting with other forensic pathologists if I should find it necessary to do that, or just thinking hard and long about what transpired here, and I'll come invariably back to the original premise where I cannot make a decision that is consistent with everything in the absence of a video, and you cannot either.
So in other words, Dr. Spitz, what you're saying is based on the physical findings alone, you cannot, as a medical expert, you cannot make a determination as to whose finger was on that trigger. Isn't that true?
No, I can tell you, since there were only two people,
correct,
that Mr. Spector does not meet the qualifications of having had his finger on that trigger because he wasn't close enough to Lana Clarkson.
He wasn't close enough, Dr. Spitz. Is that your opinion?
That's my opinion.
But if he was close enough, for instance, if in fact the physical evidence suggested, and I want you to assume a hypothetical for me, please, if the physical evidence suggested that Phillip Spector was in fact close enough to have fired the weapon, then that in fact would be something you'd have to consider as a medical expert, wouldn't you?
Would you kindly share with me where you got that information from?
I would kindly ask you to answer my question, is what I'll ask you to do.
I don't know where. This is not my opinion at all. So if I gave you an opinion on that score, I would love to know how. Maybe there's some other things that I'm missing.
Dr. Spitz, all I'm asking you is if I give you the hypothetical, if you assume, for purposes of my question, that Phillip Spector, the physical evidence, established that Phillip Spector could have been standing within 2 feet of Lana Clarkson, would you, as a medical expert, consider that in making a determination as to homicide or suicide? The physical evidence.
Assumes facts, not an evidence. Opinion, it's based on an opinion. 2, it's argumentative.
Is that it?
That's it.
Overruled.
Is there one that I missed, Ron?
I'll let you know if I think of one.
If, with that hypothetical, I think you're talking about a different case.
No, Dr.
If
Spitz,
Mr. Spector can be shown to me to be in such proximity to Miss Clarkson to enable him to fire the gun, I would have to reconsider my opinions, but that's not my opinion.
All right, sir, for the purpose of the hypothetical, the facts are, for the purpose of the hypothetical, that he was within 2 feet. Now, given that, you're being asked to offer an opinion.
As I said, Your Honor, I do not have an opinion, and right now. I would have to think about it and maybe change my opinion, but right now I cannot give an opinion.
so if in fact...
I have never, in all the material that I reviewed...
Doctor, hang on just a second. When I start a question, I'm going to try to do the same thing for you and show you that respect. When I start a question, please wait till I finish. Now, I don't know what the question was. If in fact you assume, for purposes of my question, that Phillip Spector was in such proximity that he could have fired the weapon, if the physical evidence suggests that, you would have to reconsider your opinion that this was suicide. Isn't that true?
Objection vague and incomplete hypothetical, vague as to what the term physical evidence is, whether or not it's evidence regarding blood spatter, gunshot material on his hands, the amount, vague and incomplete hypothetical.
The objection is overruled.
If that's the case, Doctor, you would have to reconsider your opinion, would you not?
I would have to reconsider my opinion to determine why this is not a homicide.
And of course, if in fact during the course of that reconsideration, you would have to consider, as a professional medical expert, you would have to consider the history of Phillip Spector along with the history of Lana Clarkson, wouldn't you?
The history of Mr. Spector is less important because the elements of this case on February 3rd, 2003 are not being considered. When you take the physical evidence on that emanated from that day, that is a story, they tell you a story all on their own. You don't need to know what he did 10 years before.
But
that does not feature into the events on 2003 in February. That features maybe on some closer time to the time that whatever happened some years prior to that. But certainly the physical elements of the case on that occurred on 2003 have nothing to do with anything but that which did occur. And that which did occur is based on the physical evidence of that day, not on what he did 20 years. We all did stupid things 20 years ago or 10 years ago. I did, I know.
did you ever get drunk,
Drive a car?
get a woman alone, get angry when she wanted to leave, pull out a handgun, stick it in her face, and force your will on her? Did you ever do that?
Objection, compound.
Overruled. No, I have not. But then I'm married, and I have been married for 45 years, so I haven't had time for that in the last 45 years. Maybe in the next 45 years.
So what you're saying is if you weren't married, you might have pulled guns on
Well,
someone.
who knows what you do? But when you're drunk, who knows what you do?
But in fact, Dr.
no,
Spitz,
to ask me whether I've done that, well, that's kind of a little bit silly because, as I said, I haven't had such exposure.
But if this case, Dr. Spitz, and then I think we'll probably wrap it up, if in fact this case was such that a woman was found dead with a single gunshot wound through the face, basically, through the mouth, in the face, with Phillip Spector's gun in Phillip Spector's house, seated in Phillip Spector's chair, after Phillip Spector had been out drinking that night and had invited this woman alone back to his house, and she's seated in a chair with a purse on her shoulder. If that's the circumstances, or if those are the circumstances that you are confronted with, is it your medical opinion as a forensic pathologist that it would be unimportant that Phillip Spector, over and over and over and over in his past, has asked women to come back with him to his house, get him alone, get drunk, when they want to leave, pulls weapons on them, and sticks those guns in their face? Would that be unimportant to you?
Objection, argument.
Overruled. My opinion is that I would hate to consider those elements to prove a case in the presence of the physical evidence that exists. Deny the physical evidence, throw it out, no physical evidence. Mr. X has a history of waving guns at women, and therefore I'm going to convict him now. That's the country I live in?
In fact, Doctor, going back to that physical evidence, I think you just told us. But if the physical evidence put Phillip Spector in a position so that he could pull that trigger, you'd reconsider, or at least you'd think about the opinion that you came to. Isn't that true?
What I would consider is, what have I overlooked here in the physical evidence that now it comes up that, well, he wasn't standing 6 or 8 or whatever feet away from her, he was actually standing 1 foot away from her. That's what I'd have to consider.
Thank you. That's all I have for today.
All right, the parties, jurors, alternates, and the witness are present as heretofore, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Dr. Spitz. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you.
Yesterday when we left off, Doctor, in the afternoon, we were discussing the facts of this particular case that show or suggest... I'm sorry, I'll let everybody get settled. I didn't want to interrupt. We were discussing the facts that show or suggest that Phillip Spector was in arm's length of Lana Clarkson when she was killed. And I want to follow up on that discussion a little bit and visit with you a little bit this morning about some of those facts that you may or may not have considered, and have a discussion about that. Yesterday, during direct examination, Doctor, you and Mr. Plourde had a discussion about the position of Lana Clarkson's legs. And you've seen several photographs depicting her as she was found and photographed in the location. You recall those photographs?
Yes.
And basically, if I can take some leave with my description. Suffice it to say, she was seated basically in an upright position, leaning back against the chair. When she was photographed, her head was to the left. She was sort of inclined at an angle, if you will, and her legs were outstretched in front of her. Is that a reasonable description?
Yes.
Yeah. Let's take a look at what's been previously marked as People's 64. You may or may not have seen this particular exhibit, but I'm going to focus your attention, if you will, on photograph A. Okay, this is photograph A of People's 64. You see the position of Ms. Clarkson's legs?
Yes.
All right, basically that's a pretty consistent position with all the photographs. In other words, there's no suggestion in any of the photographs that her legs were in any other position in the photographic evidence that you saw, correct?
I understand.
Yesterday, when you were talking to Mr. Plord about the position of the legs, I believe I heard you say that in your opinion, her legs may not have been in that position when she was actually fatally wounded. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, what do you base that? I want you to explain to us what you base that on and what you're talking about. What position do you believe her legs were in when she was fatally shot?
Well, first of all, I'm totally aware of situations where people who had been sitting when they died stretched out.
Sure.
And there is a very strong suggestion that she may have done the same thing because her dress is totally ruffled up and bunched as she came down sliding the chair on the chair. And the legs were presumably under her at the time the shot was fired, because there was no gunpowder residue, no blood that I'm aware of on the parts that were not accessible as this spurt came out, which would imply that the legs were bent under her, at least to that degree.
All right. Okay. But the other explanation, I suppose, Doctor, would be that the blood simply didn't spray that far. That would be another reasonable interpretation of those facts, correct?
I would still be left with the explanation that would be required for the skirt being pushed up the way it is.
Okay.
The picture almost indicates that.
All right. So you're indicating that based on the fact that there was no blood found on the legs, you believe the legs must have been tucked under her at the time of the gunshot.
Objection, that misstates the
I'm not sure that it does, and he can correct Mr. Jackson if he believes that's incorrect. Overruled.
Is that accurate?
I say that the legs were likely tucked under.
Okay. Pardon me for a second. I've got a frog in my throat. And the other reason that I think you gave us just now that you believe she moved after she was shot is because the skirt was bunched up around the upper part of the thighs, correct?
Because of that, and because I know that people who die often do that.
Okay.
That they move the head from one side to the other, they move their arms, and they move their lower extremities.
And yesterday you talked about you being aware of someone who moved, and I think you were describing to Mr. Plord something that you had seen one time where someone was fatally wounded, shot to death. I think that was a self-inflicted wound, and the head moved back and forth, and the arm may have moved a little bit, correct?
Well, a little bit more than that. That is an example that I have here with me.
All I'm asking about is that particular example.
He hasn't quite finished his answer, Mr. Jackson.
That is an example that I have here on a disc. Unquestionably a case that occurred and was photographed by the police during an interrogation. But I've seen it in other situations too.
Okay.
So it's not a one-time observation. I've got several such examples in my office.
Doctor, all I'm asking about is the one example that you gave yesterday with Mr. Plord. The one that you were talking about was, the one that you were describing was videotaped in a police station where a person pulled out a gun and shot himself, correct?
That is one such example.
Okay, where did that person shoot himself?
In the head, in the right temple.
You're pointing to the right temple when you said that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, he didn't shoot himself in the back of the neck, for instance, and transect his spine. in that case. That was
No, he did not shoot himself there.
Okay.
He shot himself in the right temple
And
and was brain dead instantaneously.
And there was no suggestion that his spine was transected. Like,
No, his spine was not involved.
okay, but Lana Clarkson's spine was involved in this case.
Yeah, but she was just as brain dead.
2 different wounds.
She had a shot in the mouth and was brain dead, and he had a shot in the temple and he was brain dead.
And her spine was transected and his was not. So electrical impulses from him could still travel down the spinal cord. Electrical impulses, if there were any, from her could not move from the brain to the body. Her spine was completely transected. Yes?
Whereas that is correct, but irrelevant, because the transmission of impulses down the spine has nothing to do with this.
All right. Now, let's get back to the legs. You indicated that you believed, based on the blood evidence at the scene, that her legs may have been tucked under her, correct?
Something like resembling what you're doing.
Okay. I don't know if the jurors can see me, and I'm using myself as an example, and I'll describe for the record what I'm doing. I'm seated normally in a chair with my feet together, basically my knees bent at a 90-degree angle, not necessarily tucked under me, but not out in front of me either. Basically, my shins are going straight down, perpendicular to the floor. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yes.
All right. Is this the position that you believe that Ms. Clarkson was likely in when she was shot?
Or even further in.
Okay, so even tucked under her more, like I'm tucking now. So maybe I've got a 10-degree angle going beneath my body or so, correct?
Yeah, something like that.
All right, and it's your opinion, your medical opinion, that if she was in this position here that I'm in right now, after she was shot, that her legs shot out from in front of her and she scooted down the chair, correct?
Yes.
All right. Would you agree with me, doctor, that one reasonable explanation for her skirt being hiked up, or bunched up, as you put it, is if in fact she had a gun shoved in her face, she might be retreating from that gun and move down the chair. Is that reasonable in your opinion?
You mean that she voluntarily did that?
That she was voluntarily retreating from a gun being put in her face and may very well have slid down the chair as she retreated backward. Is that reasonable in your medical opinion?
If you saw the evidence that I have, you wouldn't ask me that question.
Okay, but I haven't seen that,
Because-
so I am asking you that question,
Yes.
doctor, and I'd like you to answer it, please.
The likelihood of that is remote. I don't say it doesn't exist. I don't say it's impossible. I'm saying it's remote.
All right.
In view of the fact that these kind of movements are not that infrequent at all.
All right, let's talk about something else. We've talked about the bunched up skirt. Are you aware of how long that skirt was when Lana Clarkson was standing?
No, but it was longer than what you see on the picture.
Well, clearly, it was longer than that. But do you know how long it was, how far down the thighs it came?
No, I don't. But as I say, it's bunched up.
Okay.
So it's, the way I reckon, at least down to half her thigh.
Okay, so you believe that the skirt may have come to mid-thigh area?
Or longer.
Or longer, all right. If I told you that the evidence suggested, well, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen a video of Lana Clarkson at the House of Blues walking around in that slip dress?
No, I've not.
Okay, you were not provided that by the defense.
No.
All right. Assume for purposes of my question that in fact your first assumption was correct, that that skirt came to mid-thigh, not down to the knees, all right, when she was standing. You agree with me? Assume that particular fact for purposes of my question. If she in fact sat down with a mid-thigh skirt, that skirt would come up even a little further. Just based on, I mean, basic fashion physics, I guess it'd be called, correct? I just coined a new phrase.
Well, I'm not very much into fashion.
You and me both, Doc. But you would agree with me that the skirt couldn't be any longer. It's going to be a little shorter when she sits down.
Sure.
I mean, just like my pant legs are a little shorter when I sit down.
Sure.
All right. And you'll also agree with me that she's a long-legged gal, correct?
That's another thing that I really don't know.
You're aware that
She presents, I mean, for everybody to see. There is a picture of Lana Clarkson.
Okay, and she was some 6 feet tall, close to 6 feet
She's
tall.
5'11", yeah.
All right. As she sat, it wouldn't really matter where her calves and her feet were. From mid-thigh, at least mid-thigh down to her knees, that would be exposed at all times, correct?
Yes.
All right. You're also aware that there was no blood spatter, none, zero, found on her thighs or her knees, correct?
There was no GSR found on her thighs.
GSR is what he said.
There was no GSR or blood spatter
Oh,
found
blood.
on her thighs or knees.
Yes.
You're also aware that James Pex, one of the defense experts, opined that if in fact no blood spatter was found beneath the hem of the skirt, that reasonably is the distance that the back spatter went. He's the back spatter expert, or one of them, and he opined that in fact the back spatter stopped at a boundary about the hemline of her skirt, as you see it on the photograph. You're aware of that.
There were other factors. That was one possibility. So you can redirect if you want. You can go through the other possibilities.
Thank you.
All right.
Are you aware that he testified generally to that fact?
Yeah.
That doesn't state that wasn't.
Wait, it was the way you're stating it. It's though it was his only. There were other. He discussed various
I'll
possibilities.
restate it. I'll
Okay.
restate it. I think I can clear it up. Are you aware that Jim Pex indicated that no back spatter being beneath the hemline of the skirt was suggestive of the outer boundary of the back spatter being basically the hem of the skirt?
I cannot say that I remember that.
Okay. Are you aware that that Stuart James suggested that if in fact no back spatter was found on the legs and knees, that would indicate that the back spatter stopped at this scene, that the back spatter stopped at about the hemline where the back spatter was found and was found no further? You're aware that he testified?
I know I was not.
You didn't review either one of their testimonies?
Well, I reviewed parts of it, but
Okay.
not every instance.
Sure, that's fine, that's fine. Assume for my question that, in fact, the spatter stopped at the hemline of her dress and nothing was found on her hose, on her legs, on her knees, nothing was found on her shins or on her shoes.
I understand.
Given that fact, it wouldn't matter where her shins and shoes were for purposes of the blood if, in fact, her knees and legs, the top of her thighs, were still exposed to the gunshot, correct? In other words, that wouldn't be a determining factor in your mind because the thighs would be exposed.
Well, it's not a determining factor, other than that it's another link in the chain of thoughts as to her slipping down on the seat with her skirt bunched up. I don't go for this idea that this indicates that she protected herself and that this was a defensive position that she held on the chair. In view of what else goes on here, it's not a very plausible position.
So you believe, if I can move you for a second, you believe that it is unreasonable, in your medical opinion, unreasonable to infer from the facts that if I held a firearm in my hand in a threatening manner against the person seated in the chair, that the natural reaction might be to back up and retreat from that deadly weapon. That is an unreasonable assumption in your medical opinion?
In view of the fact that I personally think that you would use your arms, you would have this is a peaceful position she is in.
Well, she's dead, doctor. It's peaceful now. I'm talking about what happened in the 2 minutes before she ended up in that position.
She is, like they say, at peace, but that's funeral director talk. I'm talking about she is not in a commotional type position here. If somebody holds a gun in my face, I wouldn't be sitting there waiting for the gun to go off.
And of course, you're not Lana Clarkson, and you weren't in the house of a stranger, and you didn't, in fact, have a gun held in your face. So what you would do is sort of irrelevant. We're looking at the facts of this case.
I'm talking about what's reasonable. And I think that I'm a reasonable person. I think you are a reasonable person. I think most people are reasonable people, and they would probably all react in a similar fashion. So I find a body slumped over a chair like this in a position that is, to you, as you now ask me, seems to be suggestive of a certain mechanism of infliction of this gunshot wound. No, I disagree there, especially since I'm aware that there are lots of other situations where the same identical situation occurs and there's no gun involved.
As a matter of fact, you're aware of at least 4 other almost identical situations to this, where Phillip Spector has held a gun on an unarmed woman, and she didn't. In any of those situations, she didn't fight back. She did what he said she should do. Either stay in the chair, go upstairs, sit down, don't move, or whatever. You're aware of all of those, correct?
Overruled.
You're aware of those situations, yes?
I'm aware of a history of several situations where a gun was involved with other people, but I'm not aware in what position exactly they were as compared to this position or to any other position.
All right. So you weren't provided all of the details about Mr. Spector's history with women and guns.
No, I don't say that.
Okay.
I say I'm not aware in what position they were. I'm aware that there were occurrences years before that involved Mr. Spector and guns. But to say to you that I'm aware of their position at the time, whether they were sitting, standing, lying, whatever position they may have had within those confines of sitting, standing, or whatever it was, I do not know.
Getting back to the back spatter, if in fact the back spatter was limited, assume for purposes of my question, if the back spatter, Dr. Spitz, was limited to a distance about the hem of the dress, and if back spatter experts indicated that the defendant had high velocity or what they called impact spatter on his jacket, that would place the jacket, whoever was wearing the jacket, that would place the jacket within the boundary of about the distance of the hem of her skirt, correct?
What object, assumes facts not in evidence.
It's one possible. There were others, so it's going to have to be asked in a different fashion. You can ask the question, but you have to do it in a different fashion.
Are you aware that other defense experts have indicated that the spatter on the defendant's jacket could reasonably be interpreted as being impact spatter?
Objection vague as to what spatter.
Overruled.
I'm aware of that.
All right. Are you aware that Stuart James said that there may be a couple of spots of satellite spatter on the jacket, but that would not account for all the spatter on the jacket? Are you aware of that?
Objection vague as to location.
Overruled.
I'm aware that Mr. James suggested that there were some spatters that were satellite or could be satellite.
Okay. Are you aware?
The testimony, the way I understood it of Mr. James, was that it could be any one of 3 possibilities that might have resulted in the staining of the jacket.
You're aware that he indicated that if it wasn't expirated blood, that the rest of the blood that wasn't satellite spatter, and he accounted for a couple of drops that could be satellite spatter in his mind, that he accounted for the rest of it as impact spatter. You're aware of that, correct?
Again, overruled.
I feel awkward about second guessing or interpreting what Mr. James said.
I'm not asking, no, doctor, you misunderstand my question. I'm absolutely not asking you to interpret what Mr. James said. By your own admission, you're not a backspatter expert. He is. I'm just asking you if you're aware of what his testimony was. If you're not, it's okay.
Well, what I already said that I understood his testimony to be is any one of, or maybe all of those 3 possibilities of expired blood, impact blood and satellite staining. And you talked to me yesterday in the hallway, and in the absence of anybody, except I think Mr. Pruitt was there and Mr. Dixon was there, and you asked me about that, and I told you my opinion at that time.
Right, and we'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to talk to you about that in just a second. All I'm asking about now is what you're aware of insofar as other defense experts have stated concerning the jacket. Let me ask it this way. You're aware that Stuart James indicated that if it was satellite spatter on the jacket, he had to be within a couple of inches of Lana Clarkson. Yes?
Yes.
You're aware that he indicated that he would leave it to pathologists to determine, but he had no indication that this was expirated blood. And pathology is not his expertise, spatter is not your expertise, so we'll leave it at that. You're aware that he's basically
Well, you've got one sitting right here.
You're misunderstanding my question. I'm asking you some foundational questions, doctor. You're aware that he said that he was unaware of any expirated blood, and he was not accounting for the back spatter on the jacket as being expirated blood, to his knowledge.
Objection, that misstates his statement.
What's the misstatement?
He said he couldn't tell whether there was some breathing event. The pathologist would have to tell you that. He definitely said it could be expirated if that breathing event occurred. Or next.
I understand that, but I don't think that makes the question inappropriate.
Well,
You can raise it and redirect. The objection's overruled. You may proceed.
Thank you. You're aware that he indicated he had no knowledge, he was unaware of anybody that had said that this was expirated blood, correct?
I don't know what he said here,
All right.
but I know what he said to me.
Okay. Well, I'm not worried about what he said to you. I'm worried about what the testimony is before the jury.
Well, I did not hear that.
All right. You're aware that he indicated that, and as a matter of fact, before you said that there could be expirated blood, that doesn't show up anywhere in this case, correct?
I don't know if it shows up or not.
And Dr. DeMaio is a pathologist, and he didn't say this was expirated blood, correct?
Well, Mr. Jackson, please take notice that I speak for Werner Spitz. I don't speak
I
for
completely
Dr.
understand.
DeMaio or for Mr. James or for Mr. anybody.
All I'm asking, doctor, is whether or not you're the first one to say that, to your knowledge.
I didn't know that, but that's interesting to know.
And you've referenced Dr. Pena's reports, and you're aware that he didn't say that there was expirated blood.
Objection, that misstates.
Dr. Pena
I'll withdraw.
did not say it was expirated blood, but Dr. Pena describes unequivocally inhalation, taking in blood from this area, obviously, because that's the only part that bleeds, into the bottom part of the respiratory system, which is all the way down in the lung, deep as far as it'll go in the lung. The only thing that would prevent it from going further is because that's the end. The lung doesn't go any further. That cannot occur as from dropping down there by gravity or any other way.
We'll talk about that in just a second. All I'm asking you, once again, I'm trying to stay on focus here. All I'm asking you is, in his report, Dr. Pena did not say that there could be expirated blood, correct? Is that yes or no?
He implies it.
Okay, and in his testimony, he didn't imply anything. He specifically said she could not expirate blood. You remember that, right?
No, he did not. He did not. He said that she could have taken some shallow breath.
All right.
That's what he said.
Right. And she could not breathe out, correct?
But if you take shallow breath, you need to breathe out in order to breathe in. There's not an indeterminable amount of or unlimited amount of space in the lung. If you breathe out, you have to breathe. If you breathe in, you have to breathe out.
Dr. Spitz, I promise you I'm not arguing with you. We're going to be here a long time.
I'm trying to tell you what is possible and what is not possible.
All right, if you could just answer my question,
I
Dr.
would be glad
Spitz,
to.
we can cut this a lot shorter. All
I
right?
would like that.
Well, it's actually another $5,000 for you, isn't it, today?
No, don't worry about that.
I'll bet you're not worried about
Mr.
it.
Jackson, I've got plenty of money. The only thing I don't have is time.
Yeah, well said, and well said. We're getting a little bit off the track, and I'm going to try to get us back on the track, all right? I was asking you about Mr. James and Mr. Pex. Both of them indicated that, let's say that if it was expirated blood, okay? that had to have occurred within inches of Lana Clarkson.
Objection, that misstates this.
He's asking the question.
I'm asking the
That's
question.
correct. He's not stating anybody else's answer, so the objection is overruled.
Is that correct?
Would you do me a favor and say it again?
Sure. If there was expirated blood's only going to go a few inches.
Expirated blood will go depending on how much force there's behind it.
Right, but you already indicated that there would be no force behind it because it would be passive.
Just a second. I believe he had not finished his answer. You need to slow down a little, Mr. Jackson. Had you finished your answer, Doctor? About
Yes, but I
expirated
don't
blood?
remember what.
You were indicating about how far expirated blood would go.
It depends on, just imagine yourself coughing, terminally expelling the last gasp or one of the last gasps, and lips being, because there's no tone, lips falling on top of each other, mouth looks like it's closed, and the sound would be something like, well, how far would that go? 2 feet, 3 feet? It's when we talk about a spatter that occurs from this kind of a thing, from this terminal thing, it depends with what intensity that terminal cough would transpire. And it's not only a few inches, obviously.
I have no idea where that ended up, so I'm gonna try to get us back on focus
Anybody
again.
who has ever
Doctor,
seen-
I don't have a question for you right now.
Sorry.
Please, allow me to ask some questions and see if we can get us back on track, and we'll get through this a lot faster, okay? If, in fact, this was impact spatter, and you know what impact spatter means?
Yeah.
Okay? And if the impact spatter ended up on Phil Spector's jacket, that impact spatter, if it was the same pattern, basically the same pattern and distribution as what appeared on the skirt down to the hemline, that would place the jacket approximately where, in your opinion?
This occurs from this impact spatter would have occurred from a shot in the mouth with a containment of the initial collection of material, blood, spinal fluid, tissue, gunpowder, smoke, all those things in a confined place. And right after, not instantaneously after, but within a millisecond after, this would all come out. And that can travel in a shot like that in the mouth for, as far as I'm concerned, 6 feet or more.
All right. So your opinion, and again, you're not a backspatter expert.
That's right.
You're simply saying, in your opinion, that even if there was no blood found anywhere beyond about the hem of her skirt, not beyond the chair, not beyond the arm of the chair, not on her legs, not on her knees, not on her shoes, not on the carpet in front of her, not on the carpet surrounding the chair, that jacket could still be 6 feet away based on the single gunshot. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, because
Excuse me, overruled. It is a form of a hypothetical. You may answer the question.
that's what I'm saying, because if the velocity is of the spray is adequate, you wouldn't have the spray close by. You would have more spray further over.
So in your opinion, the spray that came out of her mouth, Mr. Spector was so unlucky that he happened to be standing in the one spot 6 feet away where every single impact spatter hit him, and nothing hit the ground in front of him, hit anything behind him, hit the carpet, nothing. All of it ended up on his jacket. That's what you're saying.
I'm not objecting. As soon as I can.
Yeah, but if the fact's not really, just for the record.
When you
The
say
objection is
all,
overruled. You may answer.
when you say all, it sounds like you have a bucket full of this stuff. No, you have all, he's got all of, 18 spots? And that includes some which are certainly not impact spatter, but transfers, like down here, or where he wiped something and some of the blood went down on his sleeve on both sides. Imagine, for the sake of discussion, that you take a container and you spray it on the wall. You spray it away from you. Are you going to have fluid next to you? Probably not. The fluid is going to go over there. And the farther you go, the less, the larger the diameter, but the less individual stains are going to hit the target. And on a white jacket, you'd probably find all or most of them. Mr. Spector had, I think, 18, 17, or 20 such spots on the left side of the left panel of his jacket.
So in your opinion, and you agree that according to all the experts, all of them, including the defense experts, you agree that Ms. Clarkson had spatter on her slip dress, correct? All right. So what you're saying, what you're telling this jury, is that when the gunshot went off, Dr. Spitz, spatter came out of her mouth, traveled onto her slip dress, then jumped and skipped her thighs and knees, skipped her legs and shoes, jumped over the carpet, traveled in a tight formation, and landed just on the left panel of his jacket. That's what your testimony is.
The way you're describing it is probably correct. Well, let me suggest to you, though, that the amount of spray that she sustained is really quite small. So it comes out of here, it comes out of here. The nose would possibly generate some spray as well. The mouth would generate spray. And a few of those particles would come on her. Maybe they didn't come on the knee because the knee was not available to be spattered on. The knee was pointing down, or maybe was on a downward slope, and did not get it. I cannot talk about what there isn't.
Explain to me what you mean.
It's the way you were sitting, the way you were sitting earlier, and the way I was going to show it yesterday. I wasn't allowed to do it, but you obviously did it. If I'm with my knees like this, if you looked at that picture, at that video that I wanted to show, I would have glad if you saw it in your own place. You wouldn't ask me that because it's quite obvious.
You really don't know what I would ask you, Doc. Just explain your answer. Well, how could the knees be in such a position that they couldn't get spat on?
Well, they probably could, but they're not really accessible.
I see.
They're not really that accessible.
How are they not accessible?
Well, if I'm spattering this way,
okay,
there might be a few sprays that come down, but they don't go on my knees.
I see. So the blood spatter came out.
Do I have to have spray on my knees? No, I don't have to.
See. So in your opinion, in your expert medical opinion, as a forensic pathologist, the back spatter came down at such an angle that it covered her skirt, and then decided it's going to stop at the hem and move its course to a trajectory 6 feet away and not find anything else in the path, but then find Phillip Spector, and not just all over Phillip Spector, but just on the left panel of his jacket and spray on the left panel of his jacket. That's what you're saying.
Overruled. No, you sound like those people who objected to or who brought up the magic bullet theory in President Kennedy, that the bullet had to go zigzag. I'm
going to stop you at this point and object that it's not responsive.
Sustain.
Let's stay away from Kennedy, okay? We got enough problems in this trial. Let's stay away from that. Answer my question. Is that what you're suggesting to this jury happened with that back spatter?
I'm suggesting to this jury that the spatter is on the jacket, is not a mist pattern, is not a aerosol type pattern, and is not from is not a high velocity type pattern. These are larger droplets, that hit the left panel because Mr. Spector, with that jacket on, happened to have been standing several feet away, and that this occurred from her breathing.
You're aware that Stuart James, one of the defense paid experts in this case, completely disagrees. And one of the top blood spatter experts around, so he says, completely disagrees and says, in fact, everything that was on his jacket, with the exception of the transfers, the stuff that was on his jacket was high velocity spatter.
Objection misstates the evidence.
I'm very surprised.
Doctor, just a second.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think it's one of the possibilities he discussed, and I think it should be asked in that fashion, so I'm going to sustain the objection.
Sure. You're aware that Stuart James indicated that the pattern on the jacket was mostly millimeter and sub-millimeter sized particles, consistent with high velocity spatter, correct? You're aware of that?
I did not discuss that with him. So
all right. But of course
I did
you
not
would
discuss
defer.
the particulate matter with him. I discussed with him whether he thought the spatter was consistent with a spread of particles.
Doctor, I'm asking you what you're aware of as far as his testimony.
Excuse me. This is hearsay that he's bringing in. It's not responsive to the question. Your objection is overruled. If you want to restate your question, you may.
All I'm asking you, it's very simple. All I'm asking you is if you're aware that that was his testimony in this courtroom. I'm not asking you about discussions outside the courthouse.
No, I'm not aware of that.
All right. You, of course, would defer, as a medical expert, you would defer to those in the other sciences, forensic sciences, that have more experience in that field. For instance, a backspatter expert. You would defer to his expertise, correct?
You know, at this point, I don't know what I'm deferring and what I'm not deferring. Let me tell you that I would defer anything to anybody if I didn't see it myself.
All right,
If
fair
I
enough.
saw it myself, and not just once, but many times, when I come to scenes, I have a body lying there or sitting there or whatever position the body may be in, and there's a blood spatter because there was a shooting.
How many of those scenes, Dr. Spitz, have you seen blood spatter come out in a spray, go to a certain distance, then skip everything else and find one particular target? How many times have you seen that?
Sir, this is spray on the move. This isn't spray
That's objection, non-responsive. How many?
Same.
I'm sorry. How many times have you seen what I just described?
I've seen not spray that deliberately, as you put it, maybe you didn't use the word deliberately, but you put a thinking mechanism into the spray. That doesn't, obviously that doesn't apply. But I have seen many times where a spray would go a certain way and there's something on the way that it didn't hit.
As a matter of fact, may I, Your Honor?
Yes.
You indicated that when, and you used this example, Dr. Spitz, and I want to start foundationally with this. You said if you spray something in a wall, the further it gets away from you, the larger diameter that pattern's going to have, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that the pattern that appeared on Phil Spector's jacket was basically limited to the left panel of his jacket from about mid-breast to about the hem of the jacket,
That's correct.
All right. A relatively small and narrow pattern.
No, I think it's a large pattern.
Well, relatively speaking, I mean, as opposed to a pattern that would fill this wall. The relatively narrow pattern on his jacket, correct?
Yes.
All right. Isn't the more reasonable explanation, Doctor, not with forgetting all the hopping over and jumping over stuff and finding a target, isn't the more reasonable explanation simply that Phillip Spector's jacket was closer in proximity to the backspatter or the blood-letting event when that gunshot was fired? Isn't that more reasonable?
No, it's not more reasonable.
Why is that?
Because you would have not 18 little dots on him.
How many would you have?
Objection, didn't let him finish.
He hadn't finished his question.
Sorry.
You would have a much different density on there. Not a. You saw the picture yesterday that was shown where the back spray was illustrated. I know it's an illustration, but the density of such spray is comparable. You have a large amount of destroyed tissue. You have a large amount of blood. You have blood under arterial blood pressure that is suddenly opened and available to be sprayed out. That occurs instantaneously because you make a hole in a high-pressure vessel and that spurts out like a fireman's hose.
Like a fireman's hose.
Yes, like a fireman's hose.
That's what your testimony is.
Let me suggest to you.
Doctor, all I'm asking you, is that your testimony, like a fireman's hose? Yes or no?
It sprays out very intensely.
Didn't you testify just yesterday under direct examination with Mr. Plord that in fact there wasn't much backspatter in this case? Didn't you say that yesterday?
I don't remember saying such a thing. No.
Isn't it true that the actual wound was at the back of a human being's throat, and that throat is covered by cheeks and gums and mucosa and teeth, and there had, by necessity, there had to be an object in the only orifice, which is the mouth? Wouldn't you agree with that?
I don't understand what the question is.
Wouldn't you agree that, in fact, the backspatter in this case would generally be limited?
The backspatter would be that which occurs from a wound by a .38 caliber missile into an area that is highly vascularized. That means it's got a lot of blood vessels. It's got a lot of arterial blood supply, which is under arterial pressure, which is the type of pressure that yields, if you cut an artery, that easily will go on to a 12-foot ceiling. I've seen it happen.
Did she, doctor?
I'm sorry?
She didn't cut an artery, did she?
No, she didn't?
No, there was no missile that cut an artery in Lana Clarkson, was there?
Well, that's new to me.
So that's sort of irrelevant, isn't it?
No, that's not irrelevant at all, because there is no, you mean it didn't cut the aorta, or it didn't cut the carotid artery, but
Correct.
It cut arteries.
Correct. It didn't cut the carotid artery that you're talking about spraying to the ceiling. I mean,
excuse me, sir, but every artery has the same pressure. The smaller arteries don't have any less pressure than the big arteries.
So doctor, where's the blood on the ceiling at this crime scene?
I'm not suggesting that there is, because the face didn't point to the ceiling.
Well, where's the blood across the carpet on the crime scene? If that's going out like a garden hose or like a fireman's hose, as you said, where's all the blood all over the crime scene with this fire hose of blood just spraying everything? Where is that?
That is the blood spatter.
And you saw her slip dress, did you not?
I did not see any material evidence.
You never went to the crime scene?
I did not see all the information that I have based on that I saw on the pictures of the jacket and the other clothes. I did not see the actual clothes.
Don't you think, as a professional, as an expert in this case, as a forensic scientist, don't you think that it would be important before you sit up here in front of this jury and opine about blood being sprayed by fire hoses and blood jumping over kneecaps and thighs, before you did that, don't you think it would be important and competent of you to at least look at the evidence in the case, like the slip dress? Wouldn't that be important?
Well, you know, maybe it would, maybe it wouldn't. I don't know that it is necessary. For that, I have photographs. I have the ability to talk to the other experts, and I have the knowledge to interpret those. And certainly, I never used the terminology that you used, that the blood jumped over anything. It's not my kind of terminology, and the blood certainly didn't do that.
All right, doctor, let's change gears just a second. You mentioned the expirated blood.
Yes.
You mentioned it yesterday, and you've mentioned it a couple of times today. What is a neuropathologist?
Neuropathology or neuropathologist?
Either one. Just explain what it is, what the study is. And
well, a neuropathologist is a pathologist who specialized in the pathology of the brain.
all right. Do you know Dr. John Andrews?
No.
You're not aware that he is, in fact, a neuropathologist.
No.
Do you know Dr. Hideo Itabashi?
No.
Yeah, that's Phil.
Sure. Hideo, Hideo. Itabashi, I believe it's Itabashi. Are you aware that he's a neuropathologist?
No.
Are you aware that Dr. Pena, in his testimony, indicated that he consulted, not only did he make his own findings, but he also consulted with two independent neuropathologists, Dr. John Andrews and Dr. Hideo Itabashi, both of whom indicated that Lana Clarkson was immediately deceased upon the gunshot and the transection of the spine, and that after that, there would be no volitional movement. I think you would agree with that, correct?
Yes.
Compound question.
Misstates the evidence of hearsay.
Overruled, overruled, overruled.
And they also indicated upon consultation, according to Dr. Pena's testimony and his consultation with them, that in fact, Lana Clarkson could not expirate blood. Are you aware of that?
Hearsay.
Overruled. It's one, he has criticized some of Dr. Pena's conclusions. This is the basis of Dr. Pena's conclusions. It also goes to his opinion. The objections are overruled.
I'm sorry, the answer was, I just asked you if you were aware of what they indicated, what Dr. Pena's testimony was in his consultation.
Would you tell me what it was?
That she could not, in fact, expirate blood.
Well,
Are you aware or are you not aware that that's his testimony, doctor? That's all I'm asking.
I'm aware, but I'd like to explain it.
You'd like to explain the fact that you're aware? You
No,
can
not
explain
the
it in
fact
just a
that,
second.
yes, that I'm aware, yes.
Okay, you can explain that in just a second. I'll ask you another question. I'm sure you'll get a chance to explain it, or Mr. Plourde can ask you the question. You based your opinion that Lana Clarkson may have expirated blood. We may be using the wrong word here. I want to make sure we start with the right definitions, doctor. I think that's always important. When you say that she expirated blood, you're not talking about blowing or coughing or achoo, sneezing, correct? That's not what you're talking about.
For the sake of the reporter, Mr. Jackson made certain noises to go along with the phrases that he used. I'll let her use her interpretation.
Stipulate to government.
I'm not sure about that.
Doctor, you're not suggesting those things, coughing, sneezing, volitionally blowing out air. You're not suggesting that.
I'm suggesting nothing volitional.
Okay.
But that does not mean that there is no post-mortem, considering that the person is brain dead on or at the instant of the firing.
Yes.
So what we're talking about here is release of the air that is in the lung outward.
That would be a passive release, correct?
Every expiration is passive. This is really not an expiration. This is a... You ever seen a dog dying?
Well, no, I haven't.
Well, that's what you see when you see an animal die. I have never seen a person die, but I can't imagine that in a person it's any different.
Okay.
When life ceases, the air that's inside is expelled.
Passively.
Well, the expiration, even during life, is always passive.
Well,
Yes, we can, if we want to, we can inhale willingly and expire willingly, but by volition. But most of our breathing is not volitional, is automatic.
I understand, but what I just did is in fact volitional, and I'm saying, all I'm asking you is, I don't want to overcomplicate this, doctor. Let's just stay simple. You're not suggesting that she coughed or sneezed or blew out air. You're saying that there was a passive reaction based on an intake of air coming out, correct? Passively.
She is putting out the contents of the airway and the mouth through a small orifice. That's what she's doing, passively. Passively, because all expiration, there's other words escape me for right now, but
exhalation?
it's just as bad. It'll come to me.
Doesn't matter. All I was asking is, was it passive? I mean, it's a simple question, Doc. We're spending 10 minutes on this. All I want to know
all
was it
this
passive?
will come out when that occurs. That can occur instantaneously or right after, and it can occur seconds or minutes after.
Okay. I didn't ask you anything about when it occurred. All I'm asking you, Doctor, it's very simple. Is what you're describing passive? That's all I'm asking. Yes or no?
Yeah, it's passive.
Okay. That's all I wanted to know. You based that opinion that she may have expirated blood based on your review of some slides that indicated from Dr. Pena that there was slight hemorrhage in the alveoli. Yes?
No.
Grapes.
No, that's not what I'm basing that on.
You indicated yesterday that you were basing your opinion that she must have expirated blood on the fact that there was blood in the air sacs. And
You've
for it to
forgotten the
get
other
there,
half. No, yes, there is, but you've only given me half of what I said.
I'm asking you for the basis of your opinion. You said that there was blood. Let's start with that, and then we'll move forward. Just answer my question.
I'm basing my opinion on two things.
Okay, what are the two things?
Actually, three. One is the description in the autopsy report where he makes the naked eye examination or the naked eye observations.
Of the air sacs.
No, you don't see air sacs on naked eye.
Okay, what do you see?
He describes under the segment where he describes the lung that there is what I think he's called aspirated blood in both lungs.
Wait, you indicate that he said it was aspirated blood?
That if I'm, would you show me the autopsy report?
I think what you're looking for, Doctor, is under the microscopic description.
No, the naked eye examination.
There you go.
Yes.
One place that I just happened to open on page 614, the visceral, that's VIS.
I'm not going to ask you to read it. That would be hearsay. What I'm asking you to do, if you wouldn't mind, and this is just a technical thing, just read it over to yourself.
I did.
And then tell me the simple question again. I don't want to overcomplicate things. We're tending to overcomplicate things. Just tell me very quickly, very succinctly, what do you base your opinion on that she expirated blood?
I will tell you again what I told you yesterday, that there is extensive hemorrhage in the bottom, deepest portions of both lungs, as described on page 614 in the autopsy report, and also described elsewhere in the autopsy report, but this is a good description.
All right.
And then it describes it again in the microscopic examination.
Okay, and again, those...
Where
Hang on just a second. Let me ask you a question.
No, excuse me, but you asked him what he's basing his opinion on. So now he's got to be allowed to explain what he's basing it on.
Sure. I just don't want to get off the field. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't think it is off field at this point. Go ahead.
in the microscopic examination, which is the examination of tissue that you took out from those areas that you described with the naked eye, and had the technician prepare slides where he examined under the microscope, and he describes there that there is hemorrhage within the air sacs in those areas described earlier. There's no indication of slight, like you indicated earlier. There's no indication of anything other by the description of this being a large amount of blood in the bottom portion of the lungs.
Did you ever talk to Dr. Pena?
No, I did not. I don't remember if I talked to him or not. I don't think I did.
You looked at the slides, though, correct?
I did look at the slides.
All right. What you've just described to the jurors, let's put this in English. You've described to the jurors a couple of different ways that Dr. Pena looked at the lungs, one visually, grossly, and one he took a sample and looked at it under a slide. And what was looked at under the slide was the alveoli, yes?
Well, would be
air
lung
sacs.
tissue, which includes the air sacs, the alveoli.
Thing. And when it all boils down, to the English interpretation, if you will, as opposed to the medical, you're basing your opinion on the fact that there was blood in the air sacs, correct?
Yeah, but not only there's blood in the air sacs, there is a lot of blood in the air sacs taking up large areas.
Okay. Now, let me use the Elmo. I'm going to mark a couple of things real quick.
Okay.
So this isn't completely...
Your next is 166.
166. I'll place a 166 on the bottom right-hand corner of the first document and a P167 on the second document. We might actually be able to put these up at the same time. Well, 166 looks like this. It's coming into focus.
It's a diagram of the lung and the interior of the lung.
And this one's pink. There's a second diagram that's the same thing. A little bit more detailed, but
Okay.
basically the same thing. That may be a little bit crude and rudimentary, but it may serve our purposes, Doctor, for our discussion. This is a diagram, a drawn diagram of a couple of lungs, right?
Yes.
All right. And then there's a highlighted section, as a matter of fact, the section right here that indicates, I think it was what you were, the alveoli, the grapes, right?
Well, I've seen better pictures, but this is okay.
All right, but the jurors can understand. Those are the air sacs, right?
Yes.
And they're tiny. I mean, obviously that's an inset.
The air sacs, to make it simple, are the little sacs where the oxygen is taken up from the air that we breathe at the very bottom of the
branches.
lung structure.
I understand. Let me move on to a different question. You indicated yesterday and today that you believe that there may have been expirated blood, in part due to what you saw in the air sacs, the blood that you saw in the air sacs. Correct?
Yes, as a result of an expulsion of fluids from the mouth after the shot. Sometime after the shot.
Okay.
I don't know when, but
Doctor,
as I
do me a favor,
said,
Doctor, listen to my question. You may have answered it with the first syllable. I'm not asking for an explanation. You are basing your opinion that there may have been expirated blood on the fact or facts of the existence of blood in the lungs. Correct?
well, not only, but that's obviously you need a source in order for that to happen.
Mr. Plord asked you yesterday, did you find anything physically to support your conclusion that she may have expirated blood? And you said, yes, physically, I saw blood in the lungs.
Exactly.
All right. Now, you left out yesterday the other explanation for how blood could get in those air sacs, didn't you?
I don't know what that is.
All right. Lana Clarkson was generally upright after she was killed. Yes?
But she was like you showed her in the picture just a little while ago.
And that would be upright. In other words, her head is above her feet. Actually, her head is above her shoulders, which is above her torso, which is above her hips, which is above her knees, which is above her feet. Basically on an angle.
She was exactly as shown on the picture.
I realize
with
that.
her head to, I think, the left side.
Okay. What I'm asking you is, she was generally upright. Yes or no?
Yes, she was like shown in the picture.
Which is
If that's
generally
upright, that's upright.
All right, fine.
Upright, I consider somebody standing up. But if you ask me how she was just like the jury would have seen and judged her position based on the picture.
What happens to the esophagus, the vocal cords, the internal mechanisms? What happens to those after her spine was transected? Do they remain taut and tight, or do they become flaccid?
The esophagus is a muscle, and it probably will be relaxed. It's always closed unless you swallow, and probably would be halfway closed, but not directly open.
All right.
The
Basically,
esophagus is a soft, muscular tube, and when it's not used, it just tends to
relax.
But there would be a passage in it if I put a probe through it, but otherwise technically it's shut.
Actually, the reality is, once it relaxes and becomes flaccid, it opens. Isn't that true?
The esophagus?
The esophagus, the vocal cords, the airways, they all just relax
No, the
and
vocal
become
cords
flaccid.
don't open. The vocal cords are inside of the voice box, and the voice box, as you know, if you touch your own voice box, it's gristle, and there's no, the gristle holds it at all times at a certain caliber.
She was shot in the back of the throat, correct?
Yes,
I mean, that's a very general description, but it was the back of the throat.
yes.
She would have bled from the back of the throat, correct?
She what?
She would have bled
Yes.
from the back of the throat.
Right.
Even after death, the bleeding, some bleeding, would continue down the back of the throat. Correct?
Well, it would continue, some of it down the back of the throat,
All right.
some of it into the mouth. It would go where the point of least resistance is.
And of course, gravity would pull the blood down the back of the throat and some of that blood into the esophageal passage, correct?
Well, I did not see any mention of blood down the esophagus in the autopsy report.
And in fact, it would go down into the airways as well, correct? Just by gravity. I mean, it's just liquid blood flowing into the airways. She's dead. She's not moving.
It would go into, yes, some of it would go into the upper airway.
And some of that blood would go into the primary bronchial tubes, correct?
You mean the main airways?
Correct.
Less.
Some of it would go into the secondary bronchial tubes.
I would put a maybe on that.
Some of it would go into the tertiary bronchial tubes.
No.
And of course, connected to the tertiary bronchial tubes are what?
Are the alveoli.
Yeah.
And they do not go into the alveoli. I described all that the other day.
I'm asking you right now, I'm not worried about what you described the other day, doctor. I'm asking you right now, based on just static bleeding, some of that blood that she's bleeding from the back of the throat would, by gravity, be drawn down into the throat, drawn down into the air passages, down into the lungs, and would certainly seep down into the alveoli.
No, that's not what happens.
In fact, isn't it true? Are you sure about that?
I'm sure of that, yes.
All right, and you believe that in the medical community, the forensic science community, that others would agree with you?
You know, I don't know. I didn't make a poll of who does and who doesn't, but I can tell you that in my experience, with a fair number of autopsies that I've done over time, and with a lot of trauma cases, in order for blood to occur in quantities in the bottom portion of the lung, in the air sacs, on both sides of the lung, that will not happen by gravity.
And in fact, isn't it true, doctor, that Lana Clarkson remained in that position that we saw, with blood draining from the back of her throat, down into the air passages, into the primary, the secondary, the tertiary bronchi, all the way down into the alveoli for 12 hours before she was moved. Isn't that true?
No.
12 hours.
No, you made up my testimony, and that's not fair.
Is it true or is it not true? If you don't agree with it, doctor,
No,
you
I
can
don't
say,
agree.
no, I don't agree.
I discouraged you from saying that it goes down the tertiary bronchioles earlier. I agree that some of it will go down the upper airway, but it will not go down all the way down into the end of the lung, almost to the air sacs, and then, like you said earlier, into the air sacs. It does not do that by gravity.
She was in that position for some 12 hours.
I don't care what position she is.
Doctor, I'm not arguing with you. I'm going to ask you kindly not to argue with me. Okay?
No, I don't argue with you, but
Doctor,
you don't
there's
put
no-
words
there's
in my
no
mouth.
question.
Gentlemen, doctor, what you need to do is just listen to the question. You can agree with it, disagree. If an explanation is necessary, I'll allow you to do that. Allow him to ask his question. Go ahead and ask the question.
Are you aware that she remained in that position that we saw in the photograph for 12 hours?
Of course, because that's how the picture was taken.
Now, you indicated, Doctor, that there was certain physical evidence. I think that was the answer to a question by Mr. Poor, that there was certain physical evidence that convinced you that Lana Clarkson fired the weapon. Yes?
Yes.
Tell the jurors what that physical evidence is. What is that evidence?
She had gunpowder on her hands.
It's a
She had
GSR.
I'm sorry?
What you're calling GSR?
Yes.
Okay.
She had blood on her hands. She had tissue on her clothes. She had on her sleeves. She had, well, primarily she had a gunshot wound in the mouth, a intraoral gunshot wound. And there was other manifestation that I indicated. And there is no one else that meets those qualifications that I'm aware of.
Okay, so if I get your testimony correct, doctor, the physical evidence that you base your opinion on that she fired the weapon is blood on her hands. I'm sorry, let's start at the beginning. GSR, blood on her hands, tissue on her sleeves, and intraoral, and the fact that it was an intraoral gunshot wound. Yes? Those are the four
Yes.
things you just told us. All right, let's start with the last one first. Intraoral gunshot wound, that's not physical evidence. That has nothing to do with anything, right?
Objection, Mr.
Well, it calls.
Excuse me, he's asking a question. The objection is overruled.
The intraoral nature of the gunshot wound is not physical evidence, so we can dispose of that one for this discussion, correct?
Why, I don't know, why is this not physical evidence?
The fact that a statistic that you're using, doctor, most people are right-handed, correct?
I am not using statistics.
But you indicated that it's the fact that it's an intraoral gunshot wound is a physical item of evidence that shows that she pulled the trigger. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you call that statistics, so be it, because yes, she would have fired the gun in her own mouth more likely than somebody else would have done that.
Okay.
Much more likely. I mean, when we talk about in excess of 99%, we talk about a substantial prevalence of suicide or self-inflicted wounds when they occur in the mouth.
Right, but of course you conceded yesterday that there are some intraoral gunshot wounds that are homicides, where somebody else puts the gun in the mouth and fires. You're aware of those, right?
I'm not suggesting that that's not possible.
Okay.
I'm just suggesting to you that that's extremely rare.
Okay, so that is in fact not physical evidence that you rely on to make a determination that she actually had her finger on the trigger. That's what I'm asking about, all right? But the blood spatter, the tissue, and the GSR is, correct?
No, I disagree with that.
Well, I'm just repeating what you just said. You said there were four things that are physical
No,
evidence.
I disagree with that. The fact that there is a intraoral gunshot wound, first and foremost, suggests a self-inflicted wound. I don't stop there. I look for other information. And when all the information meets, then that becomes scientific evidence.
I'm asking you, doctor, we can do this all day long. I'm asking you very specifically, what is the physical evidence that you relied on? This is based on Mr. Plord's question yesterday. Very simple. What is the physical evidence that you relied on that leads you to conclude that her finger was on the trigger at the time of discharge? And you gave me four things: GSR on her hands, blood on her hands, tissue on her sleeves, and then you threw in intraoral gunshot wound. All I'm saying is,
And
isn't
for
it
one
true?
more, there's another one.
Okay.
I'd put that in too. But there's no one else that qualifies.
Okay, and that, of course, is not physical evidence either. That's a conclusion. I'm asking for physical evidence, doctor.
I'm trying, I know what
For a second, just to move this forward, do you consider the fact that no one else qualifies to be physical evidence? In your mind, just yes or no?
yes, I think I
Okay.
do.
Do you consider the fact that it was an intraoral gunshot wound in your mind to be physical evidence?
Yes, I do.
All right, now we can move forward.
Thank you. Thank you for that clarification, Your Honor. All right, let's talk about that physical evidence. Starting with the blood on her hands. You're aware that Jamie Lintemoot is the criminalist who saw and noted the blood on her hands.
Yes.
Correct? You're aware that she testified that the blood was on her right wrist, high velocity, what she considered to be high velocity backspatter was on her right wrist in this area that I'm pointing to here. and on her left wrist in this area that I'm pointing to here, correct?
Okay.
Misstates your testimony.
I think by the use of the qualifiers that the objection is sustained, and we're going to take our recess at this time.
Dr. Spitz, when we last left off, I was about to ask you a couple of questions about the blood on Lana Clarkson's hands. You're aware that Jamie Lintemoot testified that the blood that she saw, she described the blood that she saw on Lana Clarkson's hands on the back of her wrists, correct?
Yes.
All right. You agree with me, based on your understanding of just basic back spatter, although you're not an expert in back spatter, basic back spatter, that the spattered item has to be facing the source of the blood, correct?
Well, yes, I suppose so. Yes.
All right. So if the back of the wrists were described as being spattered, that would be consistent, for instance, with Lana Clarkson's hands being up somehow with the back of her wrists facing her mouth, correct?
Well, probably that is one of several ways in which she could have held her hands.
Okay. You also indicated that there was tissue on her sleeves, and that was one of the other physical items of evidence that you considered in determining that she pulled the trigger, correct?
Yes.
You're aware that the tissue on the right sleeve was primarily due to flow, blood flow, correct?
Objection, that misstates.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Are you aware of that?
I don't know about that.
Okay.
The blood is blood, and I'm talking about tissue.
Okay. The blood and tissue on the right sleeve was under a flow pattern, or in a flow pattern. You're aware of that, correct?
Objection, that misstates the testimony.
How does it misstate it?
Because there's testimony that was separate from the blood.
Well, there's differing facts. The bottom line is there is often more than one set of testimony as to a given set of facts. Why don't you ask the questions assuming, and then it becomes a hypothetical, and then we don't have to worry about it, and then it just goes to the strength of the hypothetical. So with that in mind, restate the question.
Sure. I'll be happy to, Judge. Assuming that the blood and tissue from the on the right sleeve was from a flow event, that would not necessarily give us any insight into the actual gunshot itself, correct? If it was from after the gunshot flowing down the right sleeve.
If that is correct, what you are saying, then that is so.
Okay. Assuming that the tissue on the left sleeve, and specifically on the left buttons and the left sleeve of the jacket, including part of the left lapel, soaking through to the left portion of the jacket, through to her slip dress, through to her pantyhose, and through to her underwear, is due to contamination after the event. In other words, some 12 or 14 hours after the gunshot, that tissue, if there was tissue, would not give us really any insight into the actual spattering event either, would it?
Any contamination is objectionable.
Okay.
And I understand that there was what is called purge when the body was turned over.
Right.
Where a large amount of blood came out from the mouth.
That's what I'm referring to.
But I understand that. But I fail to understand how that would also contaminate the area with tissue.
Okay.
The way I reason is that there was tissue on both shoulders, and that blood contaminated the left shoulder subsequently.
GSR. You indicated that GSR was one of the physical items of evidence that you considered in making a determination that Lana Clarkson may have fired the weapon herself, correct?
Yes.
There was an exhibit, and could I take just a second, Your Honor?
Yes.
Did you use them in that order? They didn't be that. Could I impose on y'all to, or actually we may have it, to pull up FF? If you have it.
I'm sorry.
Do you have FF, Jim, by chance?
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, while we have this moment, it just occurred to me, and I know you see it, and I hope you appreciate it, that even though this is obviously a very contested trial, that the attorneys, how professional they are, that they try to help each other with exhibits because it serves everyone's interest in the end. And you don't see that in every trial. So I hope you appreciate how good that is to see and how commendable the attorneys are for doing that.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
I just wanted you to take a quick look at, Doctor, the exhibit that you were shown yesterday, if you don't mind. This shows, there's a kind of a still photograph that shows GSR and some gun particle material coming out of a revolver after it's been fired.
I couldn't hear.
This shows, this photograph, Defense GG, shows GSR and gunpowder material coming out of a revolver after it's been fired, or at the point at which it's being fired, correct?
Yes, that's out of my book.
Okay. You're aware that
Let me just, while this is on the screen, point out to you that the white streaks are on fire.
Right.
That's why you see them.
I understand.
And they twirl around and go in different directions.
I understand. Thank you. The cloud of smoke, if you will, goes all the way out of the frame of the picture. It's around here, but it also goes all the way back and out of the picture, correct? To the right.
Yes, but some of it is because the gun also moved as a result of recoil.
Right. The hand that's firing the weapon is in or beneath that entire cloud, correct?
Right.
All right. Also, there's a cloud in front of the hand up toward the cylinder area, correct?
Yes.
All right. The victim in this case, or Lana Clarkson in this case, was actually shot in the mouth with the barrel of a 2-inch revolver behind her teeth, correct?
Yes.
By definition, her face and the area surrounding her face would have GSR, correct? Because of its proximity to the fired weapon, correct?
Well, the gases that you see here on the picture, most of that would be inside the mouth.
There's a cylinder gap here, correct?
There's a cylinder gap, but most all that smoke there is not from the cylinder gap.
You indicated that, well, let me just ask it this way. There would be some GSR expected outside her mouth in the environment of the gunshot, correct?
Possibly, that depends. That depends on the weapon. That depends on the gun.
Well,
some guns have more, some guns have less.
I'm not talking hypothetically. I'm talking in this case. And she had GSR on her hands.
She did have.
So by definition, there had to be some GSR around the gun, correct?
Well, no doubt.
Okay. And that GSR forms a cloud. I mean, it's amorphous.
Yes, but not this amount of smoke is not all from cylinder gap.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm just saying that there is some GSR that's going to be surrounding that gunfire, correct?
Yes.
All right. And for instance, in this photograph, you would expect that the frame of the weapon would have GSR on it, correct?
I don't know. I don't deal with it. I don't deal with where that would settle or how much of it would settle. I don't deal with examining firearms. I'm not a firearms examiner.
I understand that, but you're using GSR and the existence of GSR on Lana Clarkson's hands as a physical property to opine that she must have pulled the trigger, correct?
That is what I'm using in my opinion, but not about whether the smoke coming out of the cylinder gap would be settling on this part or that part of the firearm.
Well, you're saying...
I don't know how much of this particular smoke in this picture with this firearm, which is, by the way, a .32 caliber ramshackle firearm. It's not a very good one. It's one of those that you call Saturday night specials. So I don't know how much leakage there is in this firearm, but it happened to be such that it's suitable for a textbook because of the abundance, but it's not one that I would use to say, oh, this is all or most of it or 95% or 50% due to cylinder gap leakage. That's not what I'm saying.
And I'm not asking you that, Doctor. We're getting off on a tangential road. I'm simply asking, would you expect the GSR that you see in this photograph, the gun is right in the middle of it. You'd expect the gun would have GSR on it, correct?
In this case, yes.
You would expect that his hand would have GSR on it, correct?
In this case, probably, yes.
You would expect that that looks like a bag, maybe a sandbag that he's
there is a
steadying
sandbag.
with. Okay. The sandbag will have GSR on it because this cloud will settle down on that, correct?
Yes.
I mean, that's the nature of GSR, this amorphous cloud. It comes out and then begins to settle, correct?
Yes.
All right, and it surrounds the area of the fired weapon, correct?
It surrounds the area of the weapon.
So in this
it surrounds, sometimes it does more, sometimes it does less. That depends on the weapon.
In this case, Doctor, if by definition the gun was fired inside Lana Clarkson's mouth, the area surrounding her mouth and that cloud, that amorphous cloud, would necessarily get GSR on it, correct?
Whereas that is probably so.
All right.
I do not want to have said that I can tell you to what extent that does occur.
So if she had her hands up, for instance, as I have my hands, or if she had her hands on someone else's arm, holding their wrist, for instance, who might be holding the gun in her mouth, that would, by definition, put her hands in the environment of gunshot residue, wouldn't it?
Assume SPAC's not done.
Overall. Well, that depends also to some extent, I would think. As again, I'm not a firearms expert, a firearms examiner. Where on the hand the GSR is it on the front, is it on the back? I would assume that has some significance.
I assume that the GSR was taken from all over from the back of both, and the webbing area of both Lana Clarkson's right and left hands. That would be consistent with her hands, for instance, being up in a defensive position and getting GSR on them that way as well, correct?
Well, my immediate question would be, you showed me the back that it was taken. Was it taken from the front too? I would have to, in order to attribute significance to that, I would have to know what there was on both sides.
Well,
because the fact that there is GSR on the back is not unexpected. But is there GSR on the front? That would be unexpected.
Well, so you opined just a few minutes ago that the existence of GSR on her hands is one of the reasons that in your opinion, her finger was on the trigger, her thumb was on the trigger, yet you're telling this jury that you don't even know where the GSR was taken from her hands.
I know that it was taken from the back, but you are bringing up another theory to this case. You are showing me this.
Correct, and I'm asking you, is that consistent? If a GSR sample was taken from the webbing of her finger, thumb and forefinger, and on the back, and it showed GSR, that would be consistent with her having her hands up in the area of the fired gun, correct?
Only if you do a complete job. If you don't do if you only do half a job, it's consistent. But the other half of the job maybe make it inconsistent.
Is it consistent or not with her hands being up in a defensive position?
It's consistent as long as you only do half the job.
I don't understand your answer. Explain what you mean.
The answer is that in order to make it consistent, you would, if she is like that, you would want to know what the other side of the palm has.
But let's assume
not just
you don't.
one side.
Let's assume you don't. In this
if
case,
you don't,
let's assume
then
you
you
don't.
have examined only half the problem.
Okay. Is what you have consistent with her hands being in the environment of a gunshot, of a fired weapon?
The finding would be consistent with her hands being in the proximity of a discharged weapon.
Thank you. And the blood on her hands would also be consistent, the blood on the back of the wrist would also be consistent with her hands being up with the wrists facing the source of blood, correct?
They don't have to be up. They could be just the way I said earlier, that she was holding the weapon with both her hands.
I'm asking you, Doctor, and you're not testifying as an advocate for one side or the other.
Absolutely.
I mean, you have no vested interest in this case one way or another, correct?
That's correct.
As a matter of fact, the $45,000 or $50,000 that you're making from Mr. Spector, that wouldn't sway your opinions or conclusions in this case one way or the other, ever, would it?
I don't know where you got $50,000 from.
Well, you had 45,000 yesterday, and we're into a new day now. So I assume
Well,
that
thank
you
you
got
very
another
much.
$5,000.
I'm so grateful to you for being concerned with my income. But please remember, as I also said to you before, at this time of my life, I really don't care.
All right. But you did not care enough to do it, for instance, pro bono.
Well, there are cases which I do pro bono.
Yeah, not this one, though.
No.
And we're worried about this testimony.
If I did all my cases pro bono, then I would have to go on public assistance,
all right,
maybe.
well,
but I do some cases pro bono, in fact, quite a good number.
We're worried
but
about this case, Doctor.
In this case, I did not have to.
All right. And what I'm asking you is, let's get back to the point. What I'm asking you is the blood on the back of her wrists would also, the other explanation would be consistent with her hands being up in a defensive posture when that shot was fired. Isn't that true?
It would be consistent with the hand being in an area where there is blood spatter.
Thank you. Assume that the defendant had blood on, well, actually, I don't even have to ask you to assume it. Let me just ask you open-ended. Are you aware, or was there anything in any of the reports that you read or any of the crime scene photographs that you reviewed that suggested to you at any time that the defendant, while he was in the crime scene, while he was inside the foyer, had blood on his hands or was transferring blood around the crime scene?
I understand that that is so.
Okay, and that comes from, and we'll make it a little faster if I can just kind of give you the question, and you can tell me if you agree with it. There was blood transfer from Mr. Spector on the doorknob, correct?
That's my understanding.
There was blood transfer from Mr. Spector on the latch bolt.
On the what?
The latch bolt, it's the little part that sticks out of the door.
I know.
Hold it close. There was blood transfer from Mr. Spector on the banister, correct?
That's correct.
Are you aware that when Mr. Spector was arrested, it was noted, or did you read the reports that indicated that, in fact, when he was arrested, he had no blood on his hands?
Yes, that's my understanding. Although there is a... no, that's all right.
What does that tell you about what happened to Mr. Spector's hands between the time he had blood on them and was transferring it through the house and the time he was arrested and had no blood on his hands? What does that tell you, Doctor?
Well, it tells me that the blood wasn't there. There was no blood on his hands when he was arrested.
And what does that tell you about what happened to his hands in the intervening minutes or time between when he had blood on his hands and when he didn't have blood on his hands?
Most probably that it was wiped off.
All right. You're aware that Mr. Spector retrieved a diaper at some point after Lana Clarkson was shot?
Yes.
You're aware that he wiped certain things down after Lana Clarkson was shot?
Including... I don't know about certain things you say.
I'm just saying that there was, let me rephrase the question, maybe that was inartful. You're aware that Mr. Spector was responsible for transferring blood onto the diaper?
Yes. Well, I don't know. Yes, that's correct, actually.
All right. You're aware that the diaper was wetted at some point prior to the police getting there?
Yes.
All right. And the diaper included both dilute and clotted blood?
Right.
All right. What does that tell you about Mr. Spector's hands insofar as being wet or staying dry the entire time?
It really doesn't tell me very much. It tells me that he probably used the diaper to wipe Miss Clarkson's face, and that possibly either used the diaper or used something else to wipe his hand clear of the blood that it had stained.
Doctor, you're also aware that, based on certain police reports, that Mr. Spector was putting his hands in and out of his pockets, correct?
Yes.
And at some point there was some transfer of Lana Clarkson's blood into one or the other of his pockets. Okay. And you're also aware that there was a 40-minute time lapse between the fatal shot being fired and when the police actually secured Mr. Spector and basically secured his hands.
I understand that there was a lapse of time. I did not know it was 40 minutes.
Okay. Let me ask you if you agree with the following statement. The presence of GSR does not prove someone fired a gun. The absence of GSR does not prove they did not. there are too many factors. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
In and of itself, that's correct, but it has to be taken into context with other factors.
As a matter of fact, Doctor, I'm going to give you a little credit here. Where does that statement that I just read come from?
Well, it probably comes out of my book.
All right. Comes directly out of your book, correct?
I don't know if directly or indirectly, but it comes out of my book.
Page, I looked at it so many times, page 687. How do you like that for a memory?
I think that's great.
Yeah, if nothing else, Doc, you've sold another couple books in this case.
Well, I'm so pleased that I got $2.50 from each.
You need to talk to your publisher. All right. Do you know who Lucian Haig is?
I'm sorry?
Lucian Haig, H-A-A-G.
No.
He goes by Luke Haig?
No.
Okay. You're not aware that he is actually a defense expert that's been hired in this case?
Sustained.
And
that's stricken. The jury's admonished to disregard it.
You're aware that he is, in fact, a GSR expert. He's a criminalist.
I have never heard the name. I'm sorry.
I quoted you for a second. I'm going to ask you if you agree or disagree with this particular quote. Quote, a positive finding of GSR.
He has offered some opinions on GSR, and this is just a quote, whether he agrees with this, whatever, whoever it comes from, whether he agrees with a proposition. All right?
Do you agree or disagree with this quote? And it's going to sound somewhat similar to your own. Quote, a positive finding of GSR/primer residue does not distinguish a murder from a suicide. Conversely, a negative finding, particularly in a living individual, does not exclude a subject as having fired a gun, end quote. Do you agree or disagree generally with that statement?
Yeah, generally I agree.
Okay, let's move on to something that you mentioned yesterday, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, Doctor. I don't think we need to spend a whole lot of time on it. You indicated that you took note of Lana Clarkson's right thumbnail and the chipped acrylic on her right thumbnail, correct?
Yes, I think I did.
And you indicated to Mr. Plord under questioning on direct examination that it was in your opinion that the thumbnail was likely, or the thumbnail being broken was consistent with her pushing the trigger and the associated recoil of a weapon, correct?
Yes.
All right. You can't say to any degree of medical certainty that's how that thumbnail broke, correct?
No, I cannot say with certainty that that's how it happened, but I can say with certainty that I have seen this a fairly large number of times before, not with necessarily with acrylic fingernails, although I think I've seen that with acrylic fingernails too. Yeah, but I do know that I've seen it with regular nails.
Okay, but of course, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. You're not saying, and you weren't suggesting to Mr. Plord, oh, no, I know that nail broke on the trigger. You're not saying that.
Under the circumstances of this case, when I put everything together, then it fits into the puzzle. To say to you, just based on the fingernail, that occurred from something other than the recoil, I would have to say it's possible, but it fits like a piece of a puzzle into the remainder of this case.
It fits the theory of the defense.
It's not the theory. It fits into the various items of this case.
But it also,
the various findings. When you work in a puzzle, you don't know that there is a picture, and you don't know what the picture is until you put enough pieces together. And this is one piece that fits into that.
And of course, that piece of the puzzle, to use your metaphor, that piece of the puzzle could fit something else as well, correct? I.e., a struggle, for instance, or Lana Clarkson trying to slap the gun away, or Lana Clarkson struggling with Mr. Spector, who was armed with a gun. It would fit that as well. I mean, there's nothing inconsistent about that.
In order for it to comply with this theory that you have just advanced, you would have a lot of holes in that puzzle. Because yes, there are pieces, I've had this, because I like to do puzzles. If you put it together and there's a piece that came in there from somewhere else, it doesn't fit. You could make it fit if you push hard enough, but it doesn't fit. And in this case, You know, I've made a list here for myself yesterday after your
Doctor,
inquiry.
I'm not asking you about a list. I'm not
Okay.
asking you, I mean, we can talk
Okay,
about that,
but
whatever.
there
in a
is-
minute. All I'm
there-
asking you is if the nail, the broken nail,
Yes.
is consistent with being broken in a struggle, for instance.
Nails break in struggles.
Okay, so
But-
the answer is yes, then.
If you insist to asking me whether a nail can break in a struggle, yes.
Thank
in
you.
this case, it didn't break in a struggle.
Oh, you know that.
I know that because I said to you that the nail is not just consistent, it's highly likely. If a person holds a gun, there's recoil of the gun moves back and up, that a fingernail in that area where the movement occurs may break. And the fingernail really didn't break. The fingernail here is intact. I remember yesterday, or I think it was, where I said that the reason that the acrylic broke is because the acrylic has much less, if any, elasticity. It probably has some, but very little. Whereas the native fingernail has elasticity and would, if anything occurs to it, would be resilient. Would not, the fingernail will not break, whereas the acrylic will.
Doctor, I think we're all aware that we're talking about the acrylic portion of the fingernail.
Yes.
All right. What I'm asking you now is, in your expert forensic pathologists, pathological, that was good. I thought I was going to be able to stop myself from saying that. In your expert forensic scientific opinion, you can say to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that Lana Clarkson's right acrylic nail chipped as a result of pulling the trigger on that gun. That's what your testimony is?
I'm saying that that's, in view of everything I know of this case, that's the most likely. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I'm saying it's the most likely.
And
I think
there is
that's what
another
I said all
explanation.
along.
And that other explanation is, Dr. Spitz, that it broke in a struggle, correct?
I'm not saying to you that that's impossible.
That's a yes
I'm-
or no question, Doc.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. Now, that's the physical evidence that you indicated to this jury that you base your opinions on. We've just gone over that in brief. There is other physical evidence in this case that you haven't mentioned to this jury, correct?
That I have not mentioned,
Correct.
if you'd like to point it out to me.
Sure. Let's talk about that for just a second. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday. There's physical evidence that Lana Clarkson was killed in Phillip Spector's house, correct?
Well, we talked about that yesterday.
And we're talking about it again
There's
today.
no doubt she died in Phillip Spector's house.
And in fact, there's physical evidence that it was Spector's gun that was used.
We talked about that yesterday, too.
There is physical evidence that it was secured or secreted in Phillip Spector's bureau, correct?
Assumes the fact not.
It's secured or secreted. I think it's a reasonable inference. So with that in mind, you can answer.
Is that correct?
Well, I know it was in a drawer. I don't know what kind of drawer it was.
There's physical evidence in this case that the gun was in Mr. Spector's holster, correct?
Yes.
There's physical evidence in this case that the gun was loaded with Phillip Spector's bullets, correct?
Yes.
There's physical evidence in this case that Lana Clarkson was unfamiliar with the house, correct?
Assumes the fact not.
Well, I don't know that that's physical evidence.
I may have overstated. There's evidence in this case that Lana Clarkson was a stranger to the house, correct?
Vaguest of time and also assumes the fact not.
Overruled.
Well, let me say that in my understanding, this is the first time she was there.
There's evidence in this case that she was there by Phillip Spector's invitation, correct?
That's my understanding.
If she was a stranger to the house, a reasonable inference, Dr. Spitz, would be that she would have no way of knowing where a gun was placed in the home.
Well,
Assumes facts not.
It's not physical evidence.
Well, he
didn't say
didn't
physical
ask it was physical evidence. He's setting forth a series of facts from which I assume some questions are going to be asked. With that in mind, the objection is overruled.
Do you understand the question?
I understand the question, and my answer is that really it is not by no means a definitive conclusion that because she was there in his house that she necessarily did not know where the gun was, did not know the area, the lay of the land. I mean, these are conclusions that maybe are so and maybe are not.
I'm asking you, is there evidence in any of the reports that you saw, is there any evidence that she knew her way around the foyer and knew that there was a gun in there? There is none, is there?
Well, but we don't, the fact that there isn't doesn't mean that they didn't.
Doctor, that's objection. This is non-responsive.
Sustained. Listen to the question, just a second. Listen to the question, please, and merely answer the question if you're able to. You may ask the question again.
Thank you. Is there any evidence in any of the reports that you read that suggests or that shows that Lana Clarkson knew her way around the foyer and knew her way around the house? There's not, is there?
No, there's no evidence to that, but there's no evidence there to the contrary either.
Objection, non-responsive. Move to strike the last portion.
The latter portion is stricken as non-responsive.
There is evidence that Mr. Spector would know where his own guns in his own house would be. Correct? Reasonable conclusion.
Reasonable conclusion, yes.
There's evidence that there was only one drawer open in that foyer. Correct?
Yes.
There is physical evidence in this case that Lana Clarkson was fully clothed. Correct?
Yes.
There's physical evidence that she had her jacket on, for instance.
Yes.
There's physical evidence that she had her shoes on.
Yes.
There's physical evidence that she had her purse on her shoulder.
Yes.
There's physical evidence that she was seated in that chair that we've seen so many times now right by the back door, correct?
Yes.
There's also physical evidence that she was immediately incapacitated. She couldn't get up and move around.
Yes.
There's physical evidence that there is blood on the doorknob, correct?
Yes.
There's evidence that that blood on the doorknob came from your client, Mr. Spector, correct?
My client?
Mr. Spector.
Yes.
There's physical evidence that there is blood on the latch bolt, yes?
On the what?
The latch bolt.
Yes.
There is evidence in your mind that that blood was put there by Mr. Spector, correct?
I would presume so, yes.
There's physical evidence that there was blood on the banister.
Yes.
The evidence in your mind is that Mr. Spector put the blood on the banister.
Probably.
When you say probably, do you mean that it's...
I wasn't there, but the likelihood is there.
Well, doctor, you
There
don't
were
think...
only two people there, so...
And one of them was dead.
Yes, exactly.
Right? So who put the blood on the banister?
Well, theoretically, that's true, but there were a whole bunch of people in the premises, so I doubt that any one of them put the blood there, but the possibility is there.
All right. Based on your review of all the evidence in this case and the police reports that talk about them seeing the blood on the banister when they got there and the photographs that were taken and all the documents that were done about that, reasonably, who put the blood on the banister?
I agree with you.
Who would that be?
I suppose Mr. Spector put it.
All right. There is physical evidence that Mr. Spector removed some of his clothing after Lana Clarkson was killed, correct?
I don't know if you call that removed some of his clothing.
Took his jacket off.
He took his jacket off.
Upstairs, correct?
Upstairs, yes.
Is a jacket clothing?
Well, yes, it's clothing, but when you say he took his clothing off, that sounds ominous.
I didn't say he took his clothing off. I asked you, is there evidence that he took some of his clothing off? Or removed some of his clothing?
That sounds ominous to me. Maybe I'm a prude, I don't know, but not this prude. But jacket off, that's a different, I would not classify that as taking his clothing off.
Classified as taking some of his clothing off, correct?
Okay.
There is physical evidence that a diaper was retrieved after Lana Clarkson was killed, correct?
Yes.
Who retrieved the diaper?
Who retrieved it?
Who retrieved it? Who got the diaper and began to use it in the house?
I suppose Mr. Spector.
You're aware that the diaper was wetted. We talked about that just a second ago, correct?
Yes.
That's physical evidence, correct?
Well, that's physical evidence.
All right. And in fact, that diaper would have been wetted by Mr. Spector, correct?
Yes.
There's physical evidence that Lana Clarkson's face was wiped, correct?
Yes.
There's physical evidence that the gun had blood on it, correct?
The gun had blood on it, yes.
There's physical evidence that the blood on the gun was moved or removed, correct?
I don't know about that.
There's physical evidence that there was blood in Mr. Spector's pocket, correct?
Yes.
And you're also aware of evidence that during the 40 minutes between the time the gunshot went off, but between the time Lana Clarkson was killed and by the time the police got there, during that 40-minute or however long that was, I think you said you weren't aware of that, but assume from purposes of my question that it was 40 minutes, that Mr. Spector never called for help. You're aware of that, correct?
I don't know. I don't know about that.
Did you consider that fact in coming to your opinions and conclusions?
No, I did not consider that.
All right. You were never told that by the defense, I'm assuming.
I may have been. I don't remember that.
You were given, as a matter of fact, your opinions and conclusions in this case that you're providing are subject to the information that you've been provided by the defense.
And that is reams of information.
All right. But you're not sure if you were ever told that Mr. Spector never called an ambulance, never called for help, never called the police, never dialed 911. You don't know if you were ever told that.
I don't remember if I was told that or not, but I can only say that I almost think that I've read that in the records.
All right. And you're aware, of course, we talked about this just a second ago, that Mr. Spector had Lana Clarkson's blood in his pocket. Or pockets?
In
correct?
his one pocket, yes.
Okay. And you're also aware that Mr. Spector had blood on his jacket?
On the left side of his white jacket.
Well, and on a couple of the sleeves.
And on the wipes. There were wipes on the sleeves.
There was blood on his jacket, correct?
There was blood on his jacket.
Whose blood was that?
The deceased, Lana Clarkson.
And there's also evidence that Mr. Spector made a statement directly after the gunshot was fired. You're aware of that, correct?
Yes.
And that statement was what?
He made a statement to the Alhambra police.
He made a statement to the driver.
To the driver, yes.
Correct. Directly after the shot was fired.
Oh, directly, that statement, yes.
Do you know what that statement was?
That statement was something to the effect, I think I killed somebody.
All right. Those are items of evidence that you didn't mention to the jurors when you said you considered the physical evidence in this case and made a determination and a conclusion that Lana Clarkson pulled the trigger, not Phillip Spector, correct?
Well, I considered as evidence those items that pertain directly to the shooting and not statements that were made, because, first of all, statements are subject to variation. I've seen a lot of, in fact, I've just testified in a case where 4 people have made statements, all of which were wrong in regards to a rape homicide.
I'm asking you about all of the things that I just went over, that litany of things. All I'm asking you, Doctor, you didn't mention any of those things when you told this jury what you based your opinion on. Is that right or wrong?
You talked about physical evidence.
That is true, and it's the way the question is being phrased, Stan.
Sure, I'll rephrase it. When you mentioned the physical evidence that you relied on in coming to your conclusions, none of what I've talked about, that litany, that list of things that I just talked about or asked you about, you didn't mention any of those things in your list of physical evidence that you relied on to this jury, correct?
That is correct.
All right.
And the reason I did not do that is because there are the facts there, the fact that she is in his house, does not change my opinion. None of these items change my opinion or are even able to somewhat sway my opinion.
That's actually a good question. Does anything that I've just talked about have any impact on your opinion whatsoever?
No, they don't.
Okay. Did you consider, or do you think it's important to consider, because you've mentioned 2 or 3 times in passing that there were only 2 people in the room, correct?
There were only 2 people in the room, both able to pull the trigger, and one did and one didn't.
Correct. So in light of that, Dr. Spitz, it would obviously be very important for a forensic pathologist in coming to a conclusion or opinion to maintain a level of objectivity and independence about what happened inside the foyer. You've got to look at all the facts, correct?
If you look at all the facts objectively, Mr. Jackson, I think you would...
Your thoughts about what I would do are absolutely irrelevant. I'm not asking you what you think I would do, all right? I'm asking you a simple question. Is it important...
Overruled.
Is it important, Dr. Spitz, for a forensic pathologist, an independent, objective forensic pathologist, to look at all the evidence before coming to a conclusion, just in general?
I believe that that's correct.
Given the fact that there were two people in the room, you looked at Lana Clarkson's background, or at least part of her background, in coming to your conclusions, correct?
Yes.
And that background was provided to you by the defense, is that right?
Yes.
Did you, in fact, look at Mr. Spector's background and his history in coming to your conclusions and
I'm
opinions?
aware that, and we discussed that yesterday, I'm aware that there were, in the past, some number of years preceding that, there were some episodes which I classified yesterday as unusual and maybe stupid. But that reflect on this case, because that happened, I should immediately jump to the conclusion, in the presence or absence of the physical findings, the scientific findings in this case, that there is a continuation of a previous set of series of incidences, that this is one just like the one in the past. I cannot do that.
Let's talk about those incidences for a second. Are you aware that in July 1993 in Pasadena, Phillip Spector, after a night of drinking with Dorothy Melvin, was found pointing a handgun at her car? When she confronted him, he turned around and backhanded her with the gun in hand. Then at gunpoint, ordered her, by the way, it was a revolver, ordered her into the house. When she tried to leave, he refused to let her leave, ordered her to disrobe, and then at one point finally allowed her to leave, again at gunpoint. She jumps into the car, tries to drive down the driveway, and then Phillip Spector again follows her with yet a second gun, this time a shotgun, in a threatening manner. Are you aware of that incident?
Yes, I'm aware of it.
What's the objection?
Assumes facts, not in evidence, also argued.
The objections are overruled.
You're aware of that incident?
Yes.
Are you aware of an incident in January of 1995 at the Carlisle Hotel in New York with Stephanie Jennings, wherein Mr. Spector, again, had been drinking throughout the evening, had become inebriated? When Stephanie Jennings refused to go to his hotel room, an argument ensued. When she decided she wanted to leave, he walked away, pulled a handgun, what she believes to be a revolver, then held her at gunpoint and wouldn't let her leave the hotel room, finally until the police were called, as he was waving the gun and pointing it at her in a threatening manner and ranting and raving. Are you aware of that incident as well?
Yes, we discussed that yesterday, and you even asked me whether I have done that, and I told you, no, I haven't done that. I've been married for 45 years.
Are you
and
aware?
God help me.
Are you aware of that
if
incident?
I did that. I'm sorry?
Are you aware of that incident?
We have gone through this yesterday, and I told you what my opinion was about these cases.
Are you aware of a 1988 incident involving Diane Ogden here in California, wherein Mr. Spector, actually there's two incidents involving Diane Ogden. The first one involved Mr. Spector drinking. Diane Ogden wanted to leave the house. She actually put her purse on her arm and walked toward the foyer of that particular house. The defendant forced her at gunpoint to sit down and would not let her leave. While he had her seated there with her purse on her arm, Dr. Spitz, he began pressing a revolver to different parts of her face: head, neck, cheeks, lips, nose. Finally, at one point, he let her go, and she left. And then 2 weeks later, the same type of incident began to happen. He had been drinking. She wanted to leave. She expressed her desire to leave. And this time, he pulled what she described as an Uzi and chased her out to her car, began banging on the window on the car until she drove away. Are you aware of those incidents?
I'm aware of them.
And finally, are you aware of an incident in 1992 involving Melissa Grosvenor at Mr. Spector's Pasadena house after a night where Mr. Spector had been drinking? She wanted to leave. He pulled out a gun, pointed it at her, got directly in her face, pointing the gun directly at her forehead about 2 inches away, forced her to sit down in a chair, and forced her to sit in that chair all night long at gunpoint until finally the next morning she was allowed to leave. Are you aware of that incident as well?
Yes.
Did you consider, Dr. Spitz, Mr. Spector's history of violence with women, history of violence involving guns, history of violence involving drinking and women and guns when you rendered your conclusions and opinions in this case?
I considered all these episodes and considered the rest of the evidence and came to my conclusion.
And you considered these, ignored them for purposes of your conclusion, and then rendered the opinions that you gave us yesterday, correct?
That misstates the evidence.
It does. The way the question was phrased, I'm going to sustain the objection.
Notwithstanding the fact that you considered all of this violent history on the part of the defendant, the fact that Lana Clarkson was a stranger to the home, the fact that she was a woman alone, the fact that Mr. Spector had been drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking throughout the night, the fact that she was seated in a chair by the back door with her purse on her shoulder, and she was shot with Phillip Spector's gun out of Phillip Spector's drawer in Phillip Spector's foyer with Phillip Spector's bullets. Notwithstanding all of that and the totality of the circumstances, your opinion is she committed suicide. Is that correct?
My opinion is that I wouldn't say that she committed suicide. I would say that she shot herself.
And yesterday, Dr. Spitz, you agreed, did you not, that if in fact the physical evidence showed that Phillip Spector was close enough to have fired the gun, you would have to re-evaluate that opinion, correct?
I'd have to and I did re-evaluate it, and I'd like to read you how I re-evaluated
I'm not asking you to read me anything. I'm asking you if yesterday, just harken back to yesterday, if yesterday you testified, in fact, that if Phillip Spector was close enough to have fired the weapon, if the physical evidence suggested that, you would need to reevaluate your opinion as a forensic pathologist, correct? Is that what you testified to yesterday?
I did indeed,
Thank
and
you.
I did.
That's all.
And I did reevaluate my conclusions, and I did come to the conclusion that my opinion, as originally rendered, is correct.
Thank you. I have nothing further.
Just to follow up on that, Dr. Spitz. Thank you. Nothing further.
Thank you. Recross. All right.
Just a couple of questions, Dr. Spitz, and then we'll get you out of here.
Yes, sir.
The list that you have in front of you that you went over in detail with Mr. Plord, who wrote that list?
I did.
When did you write it?
Last night after, before I went to bed.
Did you have any input or help from Mr. Plord?
No.
Did you and Mr.
Help?
Plord discuss it?
No, we talked about, of course we talked about some aspect of this case.
And Mr. Plord gave you some information that Mr. Plord...
I'm sorry?
I agree. Go ahead and finish your answer, sir.
We went and had dinner, and we talked about a variety of things. We also talked about what happened in this case, but we did it every other time too.
And Mr. Plord, I guess what I'm asking you, Dr. Spitz, is Mr. Plord assisted you in coming up with this list of things that you've just told the jurors?
No, he did not assist.
You did this completely
I
independently.
knew. Let me say, please, let me say to you that this list is nothing new. I have testified the contents of this list since the inception of this testimony here. At least that's what my belief is. I have been aware of the contents of this list all through this case since I started reviewing it. So Mr. Plord or Mrs. Kenny Baden had no real input in this case, in this list.
But of course, you talked to both of them about the contents of this list and the fact that you were going to give a list, and Mr. Plord was going to ask you about a list today.
No, if you remember, please, I indicated earlier today that I make a list almost in every case. That is how I work up a case, so that when I go to court, I have a list in front of me that allows me to run through the findings. Not that I later on say, oh, damn it, I forgot this or that. This cannot happen because I have it in front.
I'm asking you very simply, I'm not asking you about what you did in other cases or what you do in every other case. I'm asking you a very pointed question. When you were coming up with this list that you were going to tell this jury overnight last night, you worked with Mr. Plord, of course, the attorney who was asking you questions, correct?
Yes.
And you asked for the input or worked with Ms. Kenny Baden as well, correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end, what you said.
And you also worked with Ms. Kenny Baden. She had some input. All right, so the three of you came up with at least, there was a discussion about this list, and Mr. Plord told you that I want you to get up on the stand tomorrow, and I'm going to ask you a question about reevaluating the evidence, and I want you to give the jurors this list. Isn't that how it happened?
No, they didn't tell me to make a list. They didn't tell me to come before the jury and read a list that they dictated to me.
But of course, Mr. Plourde knew to ask you for this list, correct?
Well, he knew because I told him that I have a list.
And of course, he knew it was on the list because you worked with him last night and talked to him about it last night.
No. What he knew, the reason he knew what is in this list is because we discussed this list after it was done. So he knew what I have in the list.
You discussed the list.
We came here this morning.
I understand you're trying to answer the question. I'm asking a different question now. After yesterday's testimony, wherein you said if the facts suggested that Mr. Spector was close enough to pull the trigger, you would have to reevaluate your findings in this case, your opinions and conclusions. Mr. Plourde then went to you last night over dinner and said, we need to figure out what to tell the jurors about that answer. Isn't that correct?
No, the way this was left last night is that there was a question that remained unanswered, or at least not answered adequately. You asked a question, and I gave you half an answer. And this is my answer.
And of course, you indicated that this list represents, and I'll ask you a couple of quick questions about the list in just a second, but I want to follow up on something you just said a second ago. You indicated that this list is nothing new.
No,
correct?
It isn't.
That this is something that you've been thinking about and dealing with from the inception of this case, since you've been analyzing this case.
That's correct.
So when Mr. Plourde said this is a reevaluation and you reevaluated the circumstances of that case, that's actually not correct, because this is just a regurgitation. Can I finish?
Sure.
This is just a regurgitation of what you've already testified to, correct?
Not what I already testified to, but this is a regurgitation of what I knew before I even put pen to paper.
So in fact, when you said that you were going to reevaluate the case based on the facts that I asked you yesterday, that being if Mr. Spector was close enough to pull the trigger, would that change your opinion? You actually didn't reevaluate anything. You just put down on a list things that you had already decided upon, correct?
So yes, correct. Because the content of this list, if you think back the early stages of my testimony, that from when I took this stand initially, you will find that everything, or by far most at least, of everything that is in this list was already stated.
All right, let's talk about that. You indicated that part of your evaluation was that there was no spatter found from the, I think Mr. Plourde indicated, from the elbows down on the cuffs, correct?
On the coat.
On the jacket. I'm sorry, I should have said that. On the white jacket.
Yes.
All right. If, in fact, you were told that that's actually incorrect, that there is testimony that there's spatter on the sleeves down, would that change your testimony at all or change your evaluation?
Well, I'm not aware that there's spatter. There was a picture that was shown here.
Doctor, that's not what I'm asking you. I'm asking you if you were told that there was actually small particulate blood matter that could reasonably be described as spatter from the elbows down on the cuffs, would that change your evaluation a little bit?
It may.
Excuse me, sorry. The objection is overruled. Go ahead and answer, sir.
It may do that, but I would not like to make my final opinion on this case based on a single finding. I would have to find some explanation.
I understand. I'm asking you, you gave us a list. I gotta do it some way, doctor. I gotta ask one at a time.
By all means, I don't want to interfere with your investigation.
All right. So in fact, if you were to find out, or you were to be told that there was spatter or small blood particulate matter that could reasonably be described as spatter from the elbows down on the white jacket, that would or might change your opinion, or you'd have to reevaluate based on that.
Might change.
Vegas to location and quantity.
Overruled. If he wants to add that in, that's his business. The objection is overruled.
You also indicated a series of things that you said were not, that you didn't find. In other words, you said that there was no GSR on the white jacket, correct? That was one of the things on your list about 5 down or 6 down.
That's right.
I want to make sure that we're very clear about this. You're aware that that white jacket was never analyzed for GSR, correct?
Well, that means that there is no evidence that there was.
That's not what I'm asking, okay? You're answering my question with a different answer. I'm asking, are you aware that that white jacket was never analyzed for GSR?
Yes, I'm actually aware of it.
Okay, are you aware that the sticky discs, so let me withdraw that with the court's permission and follow up on that. I want to make sure that the jurors are very clear and you're very clear about this. You're not saying that there was no GSR on the jacket. That has never been shown, correct?
Let me put it better, because it was, if I said there was no evidence of GSR, it was not a good way to answer. There was no evidence of GSR on the jacket.
All right. Are you aware that there was a sticky disc that actually was taken from the sleeves of the jacket?
I think there was.
Are you aware that Lynn Harold, a PhD criminalist in this case, over at the crime lab, actually looked at that sticky disc under a microscope?
I'm not sure.
Are you aware that, in fact, in that sticky disc, she saw what she believed to be smokeless powder, unburned powder, or a particle of unburned powder in that sticky disc?
I have seen no such reference
Okay.
anywhere.
That's fair enough. Are you aware that she also saw red material that she thought may very well be blood in that sticky disc as well?
No, I'm not aware of that, and I have not seen anything related to that in the multiple records that I have.
Assume for purposes of my question that that's true, that there was a sticky disc taken from the cuffs of the white jacket and that unburned or smokeless powder was seen, and red material that could reasonably be described as blood, or what a histologist, someone with a PhD in that area or that field, believed may have been blood. Would that change your opinion at all? Or maybe ask it a little bit differently. Would you take that into consideration and reevaluate?
He changed his question before the answer came in. He just modified his question before the answer came in.
The end of that question, Dr. Spitz, I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm trying to stay consistent. Would you take that into consideration in your reevaluation?
I might, yes.
Okay. You indicated that there was, and again, this just may be a semantic thing, Dr. Spitz, I just want to clear this up. You said a couple times there was no GSR on the shirt, no GSR on the pants, no GSR on the cuffs of the pants, no GSR on the socks. You're aware that the shirt and the pants, the cuffs of the pants, the socks were never tested for GSR, not that it came back negative. You're aware of that?
Anything that is white and a blood spatter is on it, you would almost not need to, well, I don't say you would not need to test it, but it's almost so obvious that you'd want to test it.
And of course, the shirt and the pants and the cuffs and the socks, they were all black, not white.
In Miss Clarkson.
No, on Mr. Spector, they were all black too, Doctor. Did you not know that?
Well, the coat was white.
Yeah, he was wearing all black. Did
Yes.
you not realize that?
Yeah, underneath.
Correct.
But I'm talking about the surface.
You're talking about the
white coat.
Dr. Spitz, I asked you about the shirt, the pants, and the
I'm
socks
sorry.
that you related
Yes,
to.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. All of that was black.
Yes.
It was never tested for GSR.
Well, yes.
All right. You also said that there was no GSR in his ears.
On the what?
In his ears.
Oh, in his ears.
So I guess we can assume from your testimony that he didn't pull the trigger with his ears.
That he what?
He didn't pull the trigger with his ears.
No, that's not what I meant.
What did you mean by that?
When a gun is fired, there is gunpowder, flecks of gunpowder in the area. And if someone is going to be with any part of his body in that area, there is a good possibility that they may get gunpowder on them.
And that would include Lana Clarkson's hands, correct?
That it would include anything that is in the area.
And that would include, once again, Lana Clarkson's hands.
It would include her hands, it would include Mr. Spector's hands, it would include my hands if I went there.
And in fact, you indicated on cross-examination a little bit earlier that it is your opinion, based on all of the circumstances and facts that you know about this case, that Mr. Spector wiped his hands.
Yes, but he did not wipe his
I didn't ask about his white coat, Dr. Spitz. I asked about his hands.
I understand that, but
Did he wipe his
if
hands or
I'm
not?
making my opinion, I have to consider the area as a whole, not just the hands.
Dr. Spitz, you're
I
answering
realize.
a question I didn't ask. I'm simply asking you a very pointed question. Is it your opinion, I think you testified a little bit earlier on cross-examination, that there's evidence that Mr. Spector wiped his hands off?
Yes, that's correct.
Overruled.
And that, in fact, would remove GSR.
There's some debate about that.
There's debate whether wiping your hands off will remove GSR. Is that your testimony?
I'm not an expert in that regard, but I do read the literature.
Okay, so we've established I'm sorry, go ahead.
And there are people who will tell you that you almost have to scrub your hands, you wash them intensely to get all GSR off.
Isn't it a fact, Dr. Spitz, that the literature that you talk about, the literature from the FBI, the literature from the Sheriff's Crime Lab, the the published literature and the community at large, the forensic community at large, all agree that dealing with GSR on the hands, normal activity, me walking around back and forth, maybe putting a hand in my pocket, grabbing my keys, getting on the cell phone, driving a car, normal activity for the period of 1 hour will remove 90% of all GSR on a person's hands. You agree with that, do you?
I agree with that.
All right. You also agree that wiping the hands off can remove GSR.
You are talking about removing it completely.
I'm just asking, can it remove
Yes.
GSR, Doctor?
Well, it can probably remove some GSR.
Of
sure.
course it can. And of course, if you add to that, wetting the hands and wiping them would remove even more GSR, wouldn't it?
You know, we are splitting hairs.
I'm not splitting anything. I'm asking you a question, Doctor. Would wetting the hands and wiping them off remove even more GSR?
I don't know that I can answer that.
Okay.
Yes, theoretically, yes, it could.
Thank you. And you talked about, Mr. Plord asked you a couple of questions about the tissue on Ms. Clarkson's jacket. And just so we're clear about this, the tissue that you're talking about, there was a sample that the defense forensic folks took from the right shoulder and the left shoulder. And then the left buttons were analyzed, and that's where the tissue is that you're talking about, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Not on her slip dress, on the slip dress that she was wearing.
No, I'm talking about the shoulders and the left buttons.
Shoulders of the jacket.
Shoulders of the jacket and the buttons of the shirt.
Of the
left sleeve.
Of the left sleeve of?
Of Lana Clarkson.
What garment?
The outer garment.
The jacket?
The buttons. These buttons.
On the jacket?
Yes.
Thank you. And one of the last things that you talked to Mr. Plord about, just before he sat down, you were asked about the state of mind of Lana Clarkson, and Mr. Plord went into some detail with you about her state of mind and considering her state of mind when kind of putting together this puzzle that you put into the box that you call that you put into your head that you call a box and shaking it around. Remember that analogy?
Yes.
All right. Taking the totality of the circumstances into account, you would certainly need to take into account Mr. Spector's state of mind as well, to a certain degree. Yes?
Yes, I do. At the time of on that day, on the 3rd of February 2003.
And of course, you're not saying that anything that happened before February 3rd, 2003 is irrelevant with regard to Mr. Spector, are you?
No, all I'm saying is that I feel that what occurred 10 or 20 years earlier or 15 years earlier has little to do, if anything, with what happened on that day in 2003 in the presence of the scientific findings, which require no other interpretation except they themselves.
Doctor, you have to consider, as a forensic pathologist, you do this all the time. You take into consideration the facts and circumstances that are presented before you as they unfold in front of you for a particular case, correct?
Yes.
Those facts and circumstances, especially if it involves two individuals, one of whom ends up dead and can't talk to you about anything, and the other of whom ends up alive, you have to consider all the facts and circumstances of both individuals, correct?
Yes, and I did.
Okay, and that includes the history of both, correct?
Excuse me a minute. And as I said, and I did. And the dead person talks to me through the evidence.
And the live person...
Through the scientific evidence. That's how she talks to me.
And the live person can talk to you through his history just as much as hers, correct?
You may approach. The last question, ladies and gentlemen, is stricken. You are to disregard it. You may ask another question.
I'll rephrase. Dr. Spitz, you said that you looked at Lana, and Mr. Plord asked you several questions about Lana Clarkson's background or her state of mind, correct?
Yes.
Did you consider the state of mind of the defendant as well, or do you think that would have been important to consider as well?
Yes, I did consider it.
Okay. Did you consider, or were you aware of the defendant's statement to a person by the name, or statements to a person by the name of Vince Tenazzo when you drew your conclusions in this case, wherein the defendant stated...
Objection, thanks for time.
All right, add the time frame in, because he's indicated that he considers that.
Sometime in the mid-90s, wherein in front of Vince Tenazzo, the defendant said, and you'll pardon my indelicacy, women are fucking cunts, and they all deserve a bullet in their head. Were you aware of that statement?
I've heard that being said.
Did you consider that in coming to your opinions and conclusions in this particular case?
Let me put it this way, if I may. I took notice of it, but I found very little, if any, relevance to the events 10 years later.
Dr. Spitz, one final question. Lana Clarkson died of a bullet in her head, didn't she?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Redirect.
Just briefly here.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Subject to recall, you're excused. You may step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right.
We have another witness.
Yes, we have another 20 minutes or so to go.
We actually have two witnesses, Your Honor.
If they're 10 minutes each, we'll be fine.
Your Honor, while I go get the witness, maybe the jurors could stretch.
If they'd like. They pretty much do whatever they want anyway.